Decades ago, the planet was invaded by huge swarms of creatures. To survive, humanity developed a unique art known as the spirit contract. When they come of age, women awaken as spirit weapons. Meanwhile, men awaken spirit talents, becoming masters who wield these weapons to fight side by side and push back the creature threat. Today marked the annual awakening ceremony at the academy. A young girl walked down from the platform looking completely defeated. She had only awakened a basic, weak spirit weapon. Watching this made our boy even more anxious. He had just arrived in this world and had no idea what kind of spirit talent he would get. That was when a sweet-looking girl went up to the awakening platform. She placed her hand on the stone, and in an instant, a crimson beam of light shot into the sky. Her figure began to blur, and within seconds, she transformed into a sharp, shining spear. The teacher in charge jumped up and shouted excitedly that Xiao Mei was an S-rank with red-plated, silver, spear attributes and a special aura. The whole area erupted in noise. It had been years since the academy had seen an S-rank weapon, especially one with double attributes. That was the true power of an S-rank. The newly awakened Xiao Mei walked up to Han Zan and coldly told him that they were finished. She said that she was no longer someone he could reach and that he shouldn't even think about getting close to her again. Her words made the audience laugh, but Han Zan remained completely calm. He wondered if she really thought he was still the same desperate guy as before just because she was an S-rank now. He remembered how, in the past, the previous owner of his body had given her everything only to be treated poorly. He swore to himself that he would never beg for her attention again. The crowd continued to boo him, calling him a loser and telling him to give up on his dreams. Han Zan frowned. Xiao Mei mocked him, asking if he was dreaming of getting something beyond S-rank. Shortly after, his name was called on the platform. Without saying a word, Han Zan walked forward. He was curious to see what talent he would awaken. To everyone's surprise, a long time passed, and the stone remained inactive. Xiao Mei laughed and said she knew it, claiming that even awakening was a struggle for someone like him. The spectators joined in the mockery, saying Xiao Mei made the right choice to leave him. But before they could finish, a brilliant beam of golden light shot up into the sky, flooding the entire area. Everyone froze, stunned by the sheer power of the energy. They wondered if it was an S-rank or maybe even SS. Then, without warning, the golden vortex in the sky collapsed and covered the platform. In the next moment, Han Zan's talent was revealed as an SS rank called Divine Resurrection. Xiao Mei was shocked and her jaw dropped. She couldn't understand how it was possible, as an SS rank master was a miracle that only happened once a century. The boys who had been making fun of him were now staring in disbelief and envy. The girls went crazy and started running toward him. They shouted for him to pick them, listing off their weapon forms and skills, trying to impress him. Han Zan remained totally unimpressed, thinking that they were just getting in his way. He opened his personal panel and started checking his stats. Seeing the incredible skills linked to his SS rank talent, he couldn't help but be amazed. He realized this was what a truly overpowered start felt like. At that moment, Xiao Mei came back with a fake smile. She admitted that she might have been a little harsh earlier and asked if they could get back together. She said that if he agreed to form a contract with her, she would even let him hold her hand starting that day. Han Zan felt disgusted by her words. He thought about how, after 2.5 years of dating, she was acting like holding hands was a huge favor. When he didn't respond, Xiao Mei insisted, saying she might allow a kiss or let him go a little further just once. Han Zan didn't even bother to answer. His attention had already shifted. He planned to use his special vision to find a worthy partner. Xiao Mei interpreted his silence as a request for more and asked if once a day would be acceptable. Her desperate pleading made the other girls roll their eyes. They told her to get lost and said that Han Zan wouldn't fall for her tricks anymore since she had treated him like trash just minutes ago. They pointed out that if the Academy's top beauty, Yue, hadn't awakened an F-rank spirit, no one would even be talking about Xiao Mei. At that moment, Yue was standing silently in the crowd with her head down. In this world without power, she knew that beauty meant nothing, and she was just a target for mockery. She couldn't hold back her tears, wondering why she was being treated this way just for awakening a weak spirit. Overcome with emotion, she collapsed and ran away crying, but she accidentally bumped right into Han Zan. He caught her instinctively. He asked her gently if she was okay, but when he saw her profile, he was surprised. He noticed she had a weak spirit with zither attributes, but his special vision told him it wasn't just a simple instrument. It was actually one of the 10 ancient divine weapons, despite being ranked F in this world. While Yue blushed and started apologizing in a panic, Han Zan simply placed his hand on her head and asked if she would be willing to become his exclusive spiritual partner. His words threw the nearby girls into chaos. They asked if he was crazy, pointing out that contracting with a weak spirit would lower his own rank. Xiao Mei was furious and asked if he really preferred a useless person over her. She declared she would fight for him until the end. At that moment, the academy director rushed over and intervened. He told everyone to calm down and said that signing a spirit contract was serious. He reminded Han Zan that he was the future of humanity and that his mission was to defeat the creatures and take back their land. Yue, with tears running down her face, agreed with the director and said her talent wasn't worthy of someone like him. Hanzan was about to answer when a harsh voice interrupted, asking what kind of mess he had caused. Hearing those words, Xiaomei looked happy and greeted him. A man named Zhao Hu stepped forward frowning. He said he heard someone had been bothering his Xiaomei just because he awakened a flashy talent. He grabbed Hanzan by the collar and asked if he wanted him to make a call to cancel all his potential contracts in the city to teach him a lesson. Xiaomei jumped in arrogantly, telling Hanzan to apologize and make a contract with her, or else her Zhao Hu would ensure he was banished. Seeing the twisted expressions of the Zhao Hu and his Xiaomei, Hanzan felt nothing but disgust. He asked them who they thought they were to threaten him. Enraged, Zhao Hu raised his hand to hit him, but the director blocked the strike just in time. The director warned Zhao Hu to calm down, explaining that Hanzan was an SS-Rank awakener, and the higher-ups had already been notified, so he couldn't be touched. Zhao Hu looked at him with anger and said he would let it pass, but only if Hanzan made a contract with the useless Yue, or else the deal was off. Hanzan laughed and said he would gladly make a contract with Yue right then and there, and that no one could change his mind. He reached out and gently took Yue's hand, telling her it was time to make it official. Hearing the certainty in his voice, Yue's eyes filled with tears. She apologized again, saying she didn't want to drag him into trouble, but Hanzan just smiled and told her she didn't need to apologize because she was worth it. When the ceremony began, golden chains appeared in the air, slowly wrapping around them and binding them together. Without hesitating, Hanzan activated his ability, Divine Vision. A wave of heat and energy rushed through Yue's body, reaching every nerve instantly. A cocoon of violet light surrounded her completely. A beautiful melody began to play from above, as if it were coming from the sky itself. A radiant, sacred instrument began to materialize in her hands. A system message echoed in her mind, announcing that her spirit had evolved into its complete form, an SS-Rank ancient divine weapon. With the divine will now active, the melodic soul was revealed. At the same time, 3 distinct melodies became available to him: Matrix Breaker, which was a battle anthem, Quiet Flow, a restorative melody, and Dragonflight, a support piece. Hanzan stood paralyzed with admiration, realizing that this spirit wasn't just powerful, but flawless. It had no weaknesses and was perfectly balanced between attack and defense. Yue slowly opened her eyes, waking up from the contract process. The moment she felt her level jump all the way to SS, she couldn't contain her excitement anymore and threw herself into his arms to thank him. Meanwhile, Zhao Hu and Xiaomei had already slipped away through the crowd, quietly disappearing from the scene. Xiaomei complained pitifully to her Zhao Hu, saying that Hanzan had humiliated her in front of everyone and that he needed to make it up to her. Zhao Hu smiled maliciously and told her not to worry. He pointed out that Hanzan had been linked with an F-rank spirit, so his talents were practically ruined. He added that he had already made preparations for the evaluation the next day, where Hanzan would learn what true pain was. Then, leaning toward Xiaomei with a voice full of suggestions, Zhao Hu asked Xiaomei how she planned to thank him. Xiaomei blushed and giggled, calling him mischievous before suggesting they go to their usual place so she could give him a proper thank you. The news that Hanzan had awakened with an SS-level talent but bonded with an F-rank spirit spread like wildfire throughout Deep Blue City. Zhao Hu watched the avalanche of insults and mockery online and smiled with satisfaction. He muttered that the smear campaign was working, but that was just the appetizer. He promised that once the real test began, Hanzan would discover true cruelty. Xiaomei smiled radiantly, telling Zhao Hu he was amazing. Huh, such a gold digger. And don't try this squeezing at home or anywhere before marriage. Anyway, in the next morning, Hanzan took Yue to the cafeteria for breakfast. Immediately, whispers and gossip sprang up around them. Yue lowered her head and, with a trembling voice full of guilt, apologized for dragging him down with her. Hanzan simply messed up her hair and smiled, telling her she was the campus fairy and asking why she couldn't have a little confidence. He handed her a piece of bread and told her to eat because she would need strength for the spirit contract evaluation. He told her not to mess it up and to let the clowns outside jump around all they wanted because they would soon find out how wrong they were. At that moment, Xiaomei walked over with a man by her side and mocked Hanzan. She noted that for a genius SS-ranker, he didn't look like much. She then proudly introduced the man beside her as her new spirit contractor, the legendary Wang Lumao. Hanzan almost choked on his milk and spat it out, laughing at the name and wondering if he should call him dumb instead. Seeing Hanzan laughing uncontrollably, Lumao's face turned red with anger. He looked ready to start a fight right there, but Xiaomei quickly stopped him. She told him not to lower himself to the level of a finished loser like Hanzan and reminded him that the test was about to start. Shortly after the instructor finished announcing the rules, the spirit contractor evaluation officially began. The first couple to take the stage was none other than Lumao and Xiaomei. When the giant doors slowly creaked open, everyone held their breath as a giant creature appeared in front of them. The screen identified it as a black horn insect, a level 1 test. Lu Mao stepped forward with a firm order. Xiaomei's body began to transmute, entering her complete spirit contract form, transforming into a shining silver spear stained with crimson. Just as the huge black horn insect lunged at him, Wang drove his spear into the ground and spun gracefully to dodge the attack. Then, with a burst of strength, he launched himself into the air and dealt a devastating blow. His body and the spear merged into a single golden flash that pierced directly through the insect's abdomen. The crowd gasped in amazement at the clean movement, agreeing that this was the incredible power of an S-rank spiritual master. Meanwhile, at the monitoring wall in the evaluation center, the panel of examiners watched the battle broadcast closely. Seeing the insect fall with a single hit, Wayne, the commander of District 1, muttered that taking 2.5 seconds to finish a black horn was weak. He claimed his generation would have crushed it instantly. Another examiner gave him a sharp tap on the forehead, telling him to stop acting like a father figure every time he spoke. Linen, the commander of the 2nd District, spoke up and said that Xiaomei could have performed much better, noting that she was at least 20% below expectations. He suspected she had lost spiritual energy due to a lack of discipline in her personal life. Hearing that, Zhao Hu coughed uncomfortably in the background with cold sweat forming on his forehead, wondering if he had been too rough the previous night. Meanwhile, Lu Mao and Xiaomei had successfully completed a level 7 evaluation, breaking the academy's previous record, which was level 6. Some students began to mock Hanzan happily, asking where the loser with the auditory spirit was, and saying they wanted to see the look on his face now. Unbothered, Hanzan walked calmly toward the testing area with Yue by his side. However, the door to the test chamber didn't open immediately. Just as he started wondering what was happening, 10 black horn insects burst out from behind the door. Hanzan and Yue froze, wondering why there were 10 of them. The crowd erupted in laughter, realizing the duo had become targets. The examiner turned and explained without emotion that the difficulty of the test varied by individual and that SS-Rank talents were subject to 10 times the standard challenge. In reality, though, the examiner had already been bribed by Zhao Hu. Facing the swarm of black horn insects, Hanzan's expression didn't change one bit. He told them to bring it on. In the next instant, Yue transformed into the Fuxin Zither, floating protectively in front of him. With a quick strum of the strings, an immense blade of energy visible to the naked eye surged forward. In the blink of an eye, all 10 insects were sent straight to the afterlife. Silence invaded the evaluation field. Absolute silence. Everyone wondered how an auditory spirit could do that, thinking that if that was a failure, they were nothing. In the observation room, Wayne jumped up. He admitted that back in his day, it took him more than 30 seconds to finish those creatures, yet Hanzan did it in a second. But Linan, with a somber face, said it still wasn't enough to show the full potential of an SS talent, and ordered them to increase the difficulty. The old man in the center of the panel reflected for a moment, and then agreed, saying he wanted to see what Hanzan's true limits were. Zhao Hu's face twisted into a sinister smile as he wondered how long the brat would keep believing in himself. Moments later, the proctor announced the new test parameters. The challenge included 30 armored lizards of level 2 and 10 thunder hawks of level 2. The crowd swallowed hard upon hearing the announcement, wondering if this was still an exam or if it had become an execution. They noted that even legitimate level 2 spiritual masters couldn't handle that. On the platform, Hanzan calmly accepted the challenge. After all, he also wanted to know how far his own limits reached. The Thunderhawks spread across the sky, circling to find the best attack angles, while the armored lizards lined up shoulder to shoulder, forming an impenetrable wall. When the hawks screeched to signal the attack, Hanzan moved his fingers and played the strings without hesitation. The notes emerged and transformed into spectral warriors that advanced against the enemy. The warriors were stopped immediately, blocked by the lizard's thick armored scales. At that instant, the hawks attacked. Streams of blue lightning shot from their beaks, joining into a colossal electric net that descended on Hanzan. In seconds, the spectral soldiers were fried and torn apart, but Hanzan didn't dodge. Instead, he launched himself upward, straight into the storm. 2 afterimages appeared beneath him, his speed almost unreal. His hands didn't stop. They plucked the strings with deadly precision. The resulting sound split into countless blades of crossing force. He announced that this piece was called Formation Breaker. The next moment, both the armored lizards and the Thunderhawks fell silent, collapsing where they stood. Witnessing the scene, Lu Mao's eyes almost turned green with envy. He cursed, wondering how much more strength this guy was hiding. When the instructor officially announced that Hanzan had passed the level 3 difficulty, the elite members in the observation room couldn't keep their composure. They remarked that the boy was otherworldly, noting that his zither attacks changed unpredictably and his speed increase was at least 10 times greater than normal. They had never seen anything like it, and questioned if the girl beside him was really just an auditory-type spirit. The old man in the center frowned, and then turned toward the shadows, calling for Afu to step forward. At his command, a blurred figure appeared. The shadow greeted his master and asked for orders. The old man's voice dropped to a serious, deep tone as he noted that Afu possessed the ability to evaluate spiritual levels. He ordered him to go and find out Yue's true classification. Afu's eyes shone slightly as he reported that he had already tried to scan her without results. He suggested that her case might be similar to the young miss. The old man's head turned sharply toward him in surprise. He asked if Afu meant Linzhen, who was classified as F rank at Awakening. Afu confirmed that not even his talent could analyze her, and her sudden strength came from a contract with Hanzan. The old man fell into deep thought, sensing that something didn't add up. He suggested that maybe they needed to organize a meeting between Linzhen and Hanzan. Then, he asked Afu to remind him of the name of Linzhen's spirit, the one marked as F rank. Afu, whose hairline was already starting to recede, shone slightly as he answered that it was the Xenon Cauldron. Meanwhile, on the evaluation platform, the difficulty of the test kept rising steadily, but Hanzan overcame each stage with ease, completing every challenge perfectly. Even so, he didn't feel any sign of having reached his limit. Then, an instructor informed him that he had passed 9 consecutive levels and could retire. Hanzan calmly requested to face level 10 difficulty. The moment the words left his mouth, the room fell into a shocked silence. Everyone knew that the 10th test involved a level 3 royal beast, and a single mistake meant being instantly eliminated. The instructor gave a final warning, stating that in his current condition, success was impossible. But Hanzan had already sat down with his legs crossed, entering his first rest cycle. The instructor added that according to the rules, the rest time couldn't exceed 5 minutes. With his eyes gently closed, Hanzan calmly replied that he knew the rules and asked to just be given the time it takes to play one song. He then activated his recovery skill. A soft green glow surrounded his body, bathing him in radiant light. The audience erupted once again, realizing he was using a full set of divine level skills that included attack, support, reinforcement, and healing. At the same time, the observation room went into chaos. The commanders realized he was a prodigy. The commander of the 2nd district said he would take him, but the 1st district commander argued back. Linzhen wasn't intimidated and suggested a bet to see who would keep the boy. At that moment, Yu He-chun, the commander of the 5th district, stood up. He suggested that someone capable of absorbing spiritual energy, healing the wounded, and strengthening equipment should be sent to the front lines. He argued that he could reduce casualties on the battlefield by at least 30% with someone like that. The proposal caused instant outrage, with others shouting that it was absolutely out of the question. As the discussion heated up, the old man in the center slammed his fist on the table, creating a loud boom. He told everyone to be quiet. He noted that Dacia's 8 war zones had honored their duties, but he had been thinking about creating a 9th war zone for a long time. He announced that he believed the time had finally come. His words had a huge impact on the room. The eyes of the 8 zone commanders narrowed as they wondered if Hanzan could really take on that kind of responsibility. Meanwhile, Hanzan's next test began. This time, his opponent was a level 3 insect called the Crimson Flame Beast. To pass, he would have to survive for 3 minutes under its attack. The beast let out a deafening roar that shook the arena. A wave of scorching heat rushed toward the stands, knocking spectators back, but Hanzan remained motionless, standing firm in the center of the battlefield. He calmly asked if Yue was ready. Her voice echoed in his ear, firm and determined, saying that no matter what he chose to do, she would support him unconditionally. Hanzan nodded and said they should go, declaring that as a spiritual master, he didn't come there just to survive. He placed his hand on the Fuxin zither again and whispered a command. He called for the wind to answer him. At his order, invisible winds from all directions began to gather and howl. The force was so intense that it blew the school director's wig off. In seconds, a gigantic tornado formed right in front of him. The Crimson Flame Beast was taken by surprise and thrown into the air. Then, with a loud crash, the tornado exploded into countless wind blades that destroyed the beast. The crowd watched with their mouths open in disbelief. They couldn't believe he had actually done it, especially against a level 3 royal beast. To the side, Lu Mao and Xiaomei clenched their teeth so hard it looked like they might break them. They were furious that he had stolen all the attention. Meanwhile, Hanzan remained on stage, completely exhausted. Forcing that high-level zither piece had taken a heavy toll on his body. Suddenly, the environment around him changed drastically. A calm voice congratulated him on passing the first phase and entering the second testing space. A man with glasses approached, introducing himself as Linzhen, commander of the 2nd war zone. He said he had a few questions. First, he asked who Hanzan thought would win in the end, the insects or humanity. Second, he asked why Hanzan was really fighting now that he was a spiritual master. Hanzan held a clenched fist against his chest and answered without hesitation. He said that the insectoids might win a battle, but humanity would never lose the war. He declared that he became a spiritual master to defend their homes, protect the peace of their people, and restore the nation's glory. As soon as he spoke those words, a cheer broke out in the observation room. The old man stepped forward with a smile. He told the boy it was well said and asked if Hanzan would be willing to accept Li Shutong as his master. Hearing that name, Hanzan was shocked. Li Shutong was a legendary figure from Dacia's most powerful clan. Years ago, when 3 insect emperors united to destroy the nation, Li Shutong faced them alone, defeating all 3 and changing the course of the war. Remembering that legendary feat, Hanzan looked at the kind old man with admiration. Without hesitation, he knelt and bowed with the utmost respect, accepting him as his teacher. Li Shutong laughed and helped him up, saying he liked him much more than the stubborn commanders in the room. He gave Hanzan a ring as a gift for their first meeting. He explained it was forged from the bones of a level 9 insect emperor and had vast storage space. He added a warning that while the ring could scare off low-level beasts, it might provoke stronger attacks from powerful ones. He told Hanzan he didn't have to wear it all the time if he was worried. Before he could even finish, Hanzan had already put it on his finger with enthusiasm. Li Shutong laughed loudly, saying he liked that attitude and that it was much better than certain cowards who wouldn't dare wear it. He then decided it was time to stop talking and go eat hot pot. He told Hanzan he would introduce him to his senior brothers. Shortly after, the group arrived at a famous hot pot restaurant. When everyone was gathered, Li Shutong began the introductions. He introduced the second brother, Li Nan, whom Hanzan already knew, followed by the third, fourth, and fifth brothers. Hanzan and Yue stood up immediately and bowed to greet them. The third and fourth brothers smiled warmly. Li Shutong explained that the sixth brother was at the border and the seventh was overseas. Just as he was about to mention the eighth brother, a figure appeared behind Hanzan, saying no introduction was needed. The eighth brother handed Hanzan a small note, telling him it was his number. He said to call if he was in danger, but warned that he only had one chance. With that, he vanished without a trace. Hanzan blinked, surprised by his unique personality. At that moment, Linzhen brought over a package of gifts from the senior brothers, which included combat techniques, a reinforced robe, and various useful tools. Hanzan thanked them sincerely before accepting the generous gifts. Suddenly, a large woman burst into the private room screaming. She shouted that the ungrateful girl had lived off her family for years and was now enjoying luxury without them. Yue turned pale when she saw the woman. She stood up quickly to explain, but the woman took it as a challenge. She raised her hand to slap Yue, but at the last second, Hanzan stopped her by grabbing her arm. In rage, the woman turned her fury on him. She accused him of stealing her niece and demanded that he pay up immediately. Yue clenched her fists and told her aunt to stop, saying she could say whatever she wanted about her, but she wasn't allowed to insult Hanzan. The woman froze for a few seconds and then exploded in anger. She yelled that Yue was getting bold just because she passed a little exam. She pointed a finger at Yue and screamed that her brother-in-law worked in the 4th district, and with one word, she could have Yue banished from the spiritual world. Hearing that, the 4th senior brother looked at her in surprise and was about to say something, but the woman interrupted him. She asked who he was and said nobody asked for his opinion. She then turned to Li Shutong, calling him an old man with power. She demanded a full dowry including money, a house, and a car if he wanted to take Yue. She threatened that she had relatives in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th districts and warned them not to challenge her. Li Shutong slammed his hand on the table and stood up furiously. He asked the others what they were waiting for, pointing out that she had just insulted him in public. He told them to start making calls. The other district leaders were indignant that someone so despicable claimed to have connections with their districts. But the woman remained confident, telling them to call whoever they wanted. At that moment, her cell phone rang loudly. As soon as she answered, someone on the other line exploded, asking if she was crazy and trying to destroy the family. They told her they were cutting ties with her and that she should never contact them again. Before she could process it, another call came in telling her to stay far away from Hanzan and Yue. The woman's face turned pale as a sheet. She fell to the floor trembling, unable to understand what was happening. Li Shutong looked at her coldly and noted that she said she had connections, but unfortunately for her, he had no one ranked above him. A restaurant employee entered politely and asked the lady to leave. Instead of leaving, the woman threw herself on the floor and started crying loudly, claiming that the spiritual masters were oppressing an innocent civilian. Li Shutong's face darkened. He decided he had enough. With a simple wave of his hand, he sent her flying miles away. Yue lowered her head in shame and apologized to her master, saying it was all her fault. But Li Shutong didn't blame her. Instead, he smiled kindly and told her to consider them her true family from now on. He insisted that she shouldn't go back to that place and invited her to live with Hanzan at his house. Hearing that, Yue was deeply moved and thanked him immediately. Li Shutong smiled and told her not to be so formal, inviting her to eat. As he dipped ingredients into the bubbling pot, he naturally began explaining the etiquette of the 9-section hot pot. He pointed out that the center was for quick cooking vegetables, the 4 large surrounding sections were for main dishes, and the 4 small corners were for ingredients that needed more time to cook. Hearing this, Hanzan tilted his head thoughtfully and asked his master which type he was, quick, slow, or long cooking. Li Shutong laughed and said he couldn't say, because everyone has their own path and it wasn't something others could decide for him. Hanzan looked down again, lost in thought. Suddenly, Li Shutong froze and asked where his tripe and shredded meat had gone. As soon as he finished speaking, Yue, looking embarrassed, discreetly pushed her overflowing bowl toward Hanzan. Seeing the pile of meat almost spilling over, Hanzan quickly covered it with his hand and awkwardly changed the subject. He asked why the other disciples, partners, hadn't come that day. Linzhen shrugged and explained with a suggestive smile that the 2 of them clearly hadn't shared a room yet. He clarified that when a spirit bonder pairs with their spirit, they acquire a small replication ability. He noted that it wasn't very powerful, but could be useful. He added that contract spirits come in 2 forms, object-based or human manifestations. At that moment, the partners were in human form, holding positions on the front lines. Linzhen's explanation finally cleared up Hanzan's doubts. It turned out that masters and their contract spirits could not only fight as one but also operate independently. Linan then expressed his own curiosity, asking if Yue was really just an F-rank contract spirit. Since they were all disciples of the same sect, Hanzan didn't hide anything. He shared everything about his bond with Yue. Hearing the truth, everyone was shocked. They couldn't believe such an ability existed and said they had never heard of anything like it. Master Li Shutong added that Hanzan's talent must remain a secret. He stated that only they were allowed to know, and that he would send someone to classify his files as top secret, so no one could access them without his permission. With that settled, the senior brothers began reporting on the status of their respective war zones. Hearing only good news from the front, Li Shutong's mood improved, and he proposed a toast to the future of Dacia. After several rounds of toasts, each of the senior brothers returned to their regions to continue protecting the borders. Hanzan and Yue followed Master Li Shutong to his new home. Hanzan was surprised, as he didn't expect his master to have a house in Deep Blue City. Li Shutong explained that this city was his wife's hometown, but when Hanzan asked why his wife didn't live with him, Li Shutong stopped abruptly, his body tensed, and with pain on his face, he quietly said she had passed away in battle. He mentioned that the world remembered him as the man who turned the tide of the war and defeated the 3 insect emperors, but no one remembered her name. He admitted that if it weren't for her, he would be nothing. Hearing that, Hanzan and Yue fell silent, their expressions heavy. They apologized, saying they didn't mean to bring up painful memories. Li Shutong didn't scold them. Instead, he gave Hanzan some sincere advice. He told him he must treat Yue well because contract spirits aren't just combat tools, they are living beings and his other half. Grateful for the wisdom, Hanzan bowed and thanked him. Then he gently asked for her name, saying that as long as at least one person remembers, she will never truly be forgotten. Hearing those words, Li Shutong's eyes filled with comfort. He told Hanzan he was truly different from the others, and that he liked his spirit. He revealed that his wife's name was Yue. He explained that in that legendary battle, he defeated 1 insect emperor, but she gave her life to defeat 2. He said if she were still alive, the honor of saving Dacia would be hers, not his. With that, he sent Hanzan and Yue to rest. He then retired quietly with a picture frame in his hands, murmuring to Yue that he couldn't even remember the last time he looked at the moon. At that moment, Hanzan and Yue approached him and asked that, since she was no longer there, to let them keep him company under the moonlight. The words awakened warm and painful memories of his youth with Yue. He soon composed himself and solemnly said that to protect those they love, they must have the power to do so. With that, he began teaching Hanzan his most powerful martial art. With a thunderous shout, he threw his punch forward, and a massive tree nearly 2.5 meters thick snapped in 2. He explained that this art was called the 8 Locks Fist. It contained 8 seals, each corresponding to a hidden vital point in the human body. He said that once all 8 were unlocked, the practitioner would transcend their physical limits. But before Li Shutong could finish the explanation, an identical aura appeared around Hanzan. Hanzan asked if that was what he meant. Li Shutong was stunned, staring in disbelief, and hurriedly asked how he had achieved it. Hanzan replied naturally that he just followed his instinct to locate the locks. Before he could finish, Li Shutong rolled up his sleeves and stepped forward, calling him a brat and saying he would show him how to use the 8 Locks Fist in real combat. In the next instant, Hanzan was sent flying back a solid distance. Watching him roll on the ground, Li Shutong smiled crookedly and noted that being too talented isn't always good. He joked that sometimes a sharp sword needs to be dulled a bit, and that there was nothing like the joy of humbling a genius student. Soon, the village was filled with shouts of pain. Shortly after, a bruised and injured Hanzan was helped back to his room by a worried Yue. The next day, when they arrived at the academy, they were immediately met with mockery and malicious whispers. Students joked that the SS-Rank spirit contractor who caused a stir during the exam had ended up as discarded trash just like the rest. Yue's face darkened, and she was about to confront them, but Hanzan stopped her. He told her not to waste her breath, saying that the more attention she gave them, the louder the flies would buzz. Without saying more, he led her directly to the director's office. Director Chen looked serious as he delivered bad news. He informed them that by orders from above, they had to report immediately to the city guardians. He explained they would start from the bottom, facing missions on the front line. He handed them the official notification and told them to report without delay. A look of helplessness crossed the director's face as he admitted it was a waste of their talent, but said he had done what he could. He explained the order came from very high up. Hanzan accepted it without complaint, his gaze calm. He thought that perhaps this was the path his master had spoken of. Outside the office, Lu Mao and his gang, who had been eavesdropping, became even more arrogant. Wang told Hanzan he wasn't on his level and asked what it mattered if he passed the hardest test since offending the authorities was still a death sentence. Hanzan didn't say anything. Instead, he responded with a sudden, powerful punch. Lu Mao scoffed without a hint of fear, asking if he was trying to hit him. He boasted that he'd spent the whole night training with Xiao Mei and that his power had doubled. He asked if Hanzan thought he could run him over that easily as he channeled his spiritual energy into his fist and lunged at Hanzan. But the instant their fists collided, a sharp snap echoed in the air. Lu Mao's scream of agony followed immediately, reverberating through the hallway. Seizing the moment, Hanzan advanced once more and landed a devastating punch straight to Lu Mao's face, knocking him unconscious. Hanzan murmured that was all it took. Then, calmly taking Yue's hand, he told her to come on, adding that the idiot deserved it and it was time to report for duty. After Hanzan and Yue left, the director went to the door and shouted for help, noting that Lu Mao had passed out from severe injuries and needed to be taken to the infirmary. Meanwhile, Hanzan and Yue arrived at the headquarters of the city guardians. Hanzan announced they were reporting for service. The young man at the reception, who was playing on the computer, paused mid-click and looked at them with sudden recognition. He said they must be the S-class spirit contractors of Deep Blue City, the ones Vice Captain Lin said needed special attention. He quickly browsed the system and confirmed they were officially registered and assigned to Unit 0527. He told Hanzan he was now the new squad leader and pointed out his office in the corner. But the moment they opened the door, a wave of strong alcohol smell hit them. Yue instinctively covered her nose while Hanzan frowned. A curvy redhead lazily lifted her glass and asked who they were and what they wanted. Hanzan stepped forward confidently and introduced himself as the new captain of Unit 0527. The redhead paused, visibly surprised. Meanwhile, a disheveled man lying on a nearby bed mocked him, saying a baby-faced brat wanted to lead them and told the rookie to get lost. Yue's temper exploded instantly, asking if he hurt himself and saying his mouth only spewed garbage. The man didn't back down. Instead, he approached with an arrogant smile, commenting that he liked her fire. He made a rude suggestion about her joining him, but before he could finish the sentence, Hanzan had already moved forward, throwing a punch straight to his face. He asked if the man thought he was just there for decoration. The redhead laughed, finding it amusing, and told the man to deal with the new captain as she turned around and left without another word. The man got up calmly and shrugged. He said the squad was in ruins and couldn't even afford bottled water. He warned that if they stayed, they would rot like dead fish. Hanzan replied calmly that as long as he was there, they would someday be drinking fine wine. The man scoffed and opened the laptop on the table, telling him to look at it first. On the screen, Unit 0527 was in last place in the Deep Blue City Guard rankings. He explained that the annual evaluation was in 2 months, and those at the bottom would be kicked out and sent to the lower district. He warned them that there was no law down there, only chaos and swarms of creatures attacking constantly. He threw his beer on the floor and yelled that if they didn't want to perish down there, they should leave now. Hanzan understood everything immediately. This was Zhao Hu's plan, a deliberate move to corner him. Yue, clearly worried, whispered that the man had already given up and was just dead weight, suggesting they leave. But Hanzan shook his head. He knew very well that no matter which squad he went to, Zhao Hu would still come after him. Instead of running away, Hanzan decided to stay and transform Unit 0527 into the best unit in Deep Blue City, completely crushing Zhao Hu's plan. Without saying another word, he led Yue directly to the redhead's room and pushed the door open. Her expression darkened immediately, and she told him to get out, saying he wasn't welcome there. But Hanzan stood firm. He asked if she was really going to stay there, rotting away and giving up, calling her by her real name, Bai Shuang. That name hit her like a shockwave. She demanded to know who he was and how he knew that. At that moment, her profile appeared before Hanzon's eyes, revealing she was an A-grade spirit with an illusion ring and a deception trait that allowed her to alter her appearance. Hanzon raised a single finger and told her that what he showed her was just a glimpse of his power. Bai Shuang flinched, thinking he wanted to blackmail her, but instead, he reached out and offered a deal. He suggested she join him on missions, and they would split the rewards 50-50. Bai Shuang hesitated for a moment before accepting. She figured that if Hanzon could see through her lies, he must be someone special. With the deal closed, Hanzon asked her to gather the available missions so he could analyze them himself. Soon, Bai Shuang returned with a tablet. She pointed out 3 missions that might work, but Hanzon quickly discarded them when he saw how low the rewards were. Instead, he chose the mission with the highest score. Bai Shuang was shocked and asked if he was crazy, pointing out that the recommended team size was 6 to 8 people, which meant at least 2 full squads working together. Before she could finish, Hanzon had already pressed confirm. He was determined to change his destiny. Bai Shuang groaned, asking if he had lost his mind and reminding him that if they failed, they would lose 10% of the reward as a penalty. Hanzon, calm and confident, told her to let go, assuring her that if anything went wrong, he would take responsibility. Watching Hanzon walk away, Bai Shuang frowned and muttered that she would see what he was capable of, warning him not to come crawling back, asking her to collect his remains. Meanwhile, at another squad's meeting point, a man shouted as he checked his device, announcing that the sewer cleaning mission had been taken. The whole team froze. As the #1 ranked squad, they wondered who else would dare to accept such a risky mission. The captain immediately ordered everyone to drop what they were doing and run to the sewer entrance, wanting to see who had the courage to steal their work. On the other side, Hanzon, Yue, and Bai Shuang arrived at the mission site. Bai Shuang checked the scanner and warned that according to the life detector, there were at least 8 level 2 insects inside, suggesting it might be a nest. Hanzon exchanged a determined look with Yue, and in the next instant he rushed into the darkness, shouting over his shoulder for Bai Shuang to wait there. Bai Shuang stood paralyzed, completely stunned. She thought about how those were level 2 insects and how most teams could barely handle a single one, yet this lunatic just walked in like it was nothing. Her thoughts were interrupted by the sound of monstrous screams echoing from the depths of the sewer. Her heart raced, and she clenched her teeth, but after a brief moment of hesitation, she rushed forward without thinking twice, diving into the shadows. When she finally reached the inner chamber, she was left with her mouth open. All the insects were already finished. With wide eyes, she stammered, asking if he had done all of that. Hanzon nodded casually. He said the mission was quite smooth and told her to go collect the materials from the bodies, noting they should get a good reward. As he walked away, Bai Shuang stared at him with her mind spinning, wondering who on earth this guy was and how someone could eliminate an entire nest of level 2 insects so easily. Meanwhile, in Zhao Hu's office, one of his subordinates reported that Team 0527 had just completed 2 missions and already had 350 points. Zhao Hu slammed the table in fury, asking if he was joking. He growled that this wasn't how they were supposed to be sabotaged. He muttered that Hanzon shouldn't think he couldn't be crushed just because he had some backing. He then gave another order, telling the other teams to take every available mission in Deep Blue City and not leave even crumbs for them. That night during dinner, Hanzon's mentor, Li Shutong, asked with concern about the conflict with Zhao Hu, and if he needed help. Hanzon shook his head. He calmly commented that the Guardians claimed to protect the city, but he was starting to wonder if they really protected anything, admitting he was more worried about what was rotting on the inside. Li Shutong nodded with regret, saying that happens when an organization grows too big. He explained that the roots begin to rot, and sometimes the only remedy is to burn it all down and start over. He spoke with a serene weight, telling Hanzon that was why he chose him from the beginning. He said fire can burn dead leaves and drive away darkness, but it can also be extinguished at any moment. He told Hanzon that since he would walk this path from now on, the choice was his. Hanzon nodded thoughtfully, and then asked his master how to advance the 8 Locks fist to the next level. Li Shutong's answer was brief. It happens between life and death. After a hearty meal, Hanzon lay down in his room, ready to sleep. Suddenly, Yue entered with blushing cheeks and softly asked if she could sleep there that night. Hanzon sat up awkwardly, pointing out that the villa was big and asking why she didn't sleep in her own room. She lowered her head shyly and explained that the master had locked all the other rooms. Hanzon scratched his head in embarrassment and offered to sleep on the floor, saying it was cooler anyway. Before he could finish the sentence, Yue jumped onto him with determined eyes, insisting that he would sleep on the bed that night. What happened next is better left to the imagination. The next morning, Hanzon arrived at the team's 0527 office feeling refreshed with Yue by his side. As soon as they entered, Bai Shuang and Jifan ran toward them. They exclaimed excitedly, listing his titles as the new SS-Rank Soul Conjurer of Deep Blue City, the slayer of level 2 insects, and the one who defeated a level 3 monster alone. They asked if he was really the greatest genius of the academy. Mid-sentence, Bai Shuang suddenly lowered her head. She admitted she had no idea he was so powerful, thinking he was just another rookie with good connections. She sincerely apologized and added that putting a genius like him in the city guardians was a waste. She warned that staying there too long could make even someone like him useless. Hanzan replied calmly that mediocre people are molded by the environment, but he molds the environment. Even so, Jafan reminded Hanzan to stay alert, warning that Zhao was the type of man who would do anything to get what he wanted. At that moment, Bai Shuang looked at the tablet and gasped. She announced that all the missions in Deep Blue City had been taken. She asked what they would do now, complaining that just when they were making progress, they would be stuck doing nothing again. Hanzan realized immediately that this was another one of Zhaohu's dirty tricks. Without hesitating, he told Bai Shuang to change the team's registered location to Kanai City. In the next instant, an avalanche of new missions appeared on the screen. Bai Shuang was shocked, but her expression soon turned worried. She explained that technically they could take missions in other cities, but that meant they would be running all over the place just to complete them. She also pointed out that the routes between cities were infested with high-level insect monsters, so it wouldn't be easy. Indeed, not long after leaving the city gates, they saw a vehicle ahead being fiercely attacked by a swarm of insects. Yue stopped and quickly asked what it was. Hanzan took a look and explained that those were level 1 flying insects called ash flies. He noted that they operated in swarms, and the larger the swarm, the deadlier the destruction. Before he finished, Jafan, still lying in the back seat, let out a confused noise. Suddenly, he sat up and shouted, asking what that was. A black whirlpool had appeared out of nowhere in the clear blue sky. Yue's expression changed immediately. She gasped, realizing there were so many ash flies that the destruction would be catastrophic. But Jifan simply took a big swig of beer and yelled like a madman, telling them to go straight into the chaos. At that moment, another convoy appeared near the black tornado, apparently trapped in the middle of the attack. Hanzan ordered Bai Shuang to hold the wheel tight. Bai Shuang asked if they should help them. Hanzan answered without hesitation that of course they were going to help, ordering maximum speed. As soon as those words left his mouth, Jafan raised his bottle and burst out laughing, shouting for them to advance. Bai Shuang turned the wheel hard, her voice firm as she warned everyone to hold on because they were going in. The next second, Jafan, who had been screaming like a lunatic, was thrown face first onto the floor of the vehicle, but he didn't care at all. On the contrary, his smile became even crazier as he laughed uncontrollably, saying it was wonderful. Meanwhile, on the other side, the convoy was quickly being overtaken by the tornado of ash flies. In the front car, the butler turned to Sangstiting and reported that they had reached maximum speed, but at that rate, they would be caught in 2.5 minutes. He added that reinforcements wouldn't arrive in time for her safety. He paused for a moment, his voice heavy, then gripped the radio tightly and ordered all units to initiate the sacrifice protocol. Hearing that, Sighting snatched the radio from his hand and shouted that no one was allowed to surrender until the very last second. The guards, already prepared for the worst, turned their vehicles around. They signaled to fire, and moments later, deafening explosions erupted in the heart of the tornado, lighting up the sky with flames and shockwaves. But against the overwhelming swarm of ash flies, the guards' attacks were just a drop in the ocean. Watching her squad get devoured, Sangstiting broke down in tears, crying that they were perishing because of her. At that instant, a soft sound echoed in the distance, catching her attention. Sharp sonic blades formed by a melody shot toward the black tornado. In an instant, countless ash flies were sliced in half. On top of a speeding off-road vehicle, Hanzan calmly plucked the strings of his spiritual instrument. With every resonating note, more and more insect bodies fell from the sky, creating a storm of defeated creatures. Sangstiting stood paralyzed, murmuring in disbelief that someone was actually undoing the storm. Even the butler by her side was stunned, asking since when there was someone so powerful around here, wondering who he served, and remarking that it was terrifying. But at that moment, the ash flies, enraged by the massacre, changed tactics and focused on Hanzan. From inside the tornado, countless black needles, as thin as hairs, flew toward him. Before Hanzan could react, Jifan threw himself in front of him, using his body as a shield. In an instant, all the poisonous needles pierced Jifan's body. Hanzan's face changed drastically, realizing those needles were coated in a deadly poison that would cause death in just 25 seconds without treatment. Even so, Jafan remained standing, laughing like a madman, completely unbothered. He shouted that it was incredible and a wonderful feeling. Then, to everyone's surprise, the needles began to be expelled from his body one by one. Jifan stood up once more with the same energy as always, as if nothing had happened. Hanzan watched with his mouth open. He realized it was an SS-Rank talent, and wondered if that immortal trait was rapid regeneration or true immortality. Noticing Hanzan's confused look, Jifan smirked, and asked if he was dying of curiosity. He teased him, saying if he wanted to know what his SS immortal talent really did, he should beg him, and maybe he would tell. Hanzon turned around with a smile, saying new dreams awaited them and telling Bai Shuang to head to their first mission destination. As the vehicle moved forward, Hanzon sneezed twice. Rubbing his nose, he muttered that it was strange because he wasn't sick, so someone must be talking about him. At that moment, Yue spoke up, saying she thought they had arrived at the mission location. Instinctively, he looked ahead. Not far away, several insectoids were causing destruction. A shiver of excitement ran through Hanzon. He remarked that it was showtime and that a lot of points were coming their way. Yue transformed into her spirit zither form. The insectoids started running directly toward them. With a snap of his fingers, several sonic blades burst through the air. The next second, every insectoid was sliced in half and sent straight to the other world. Bai Shuang swallowed hard watching the scene unfold, thinking the guy was crazy and constantly redefining what she thought was possible. In the following days, several insectoid extermination missions in Kanai were completed with impressive speed. The absurd efficiency caught the attention of the local guardians. Some surveillance squad members whispered, wondering since when they had a team like that in Kanai. They called them monsters. They noted that, excluding travel time, the team finished each mission in less than 15 seconds, calling it a massacre rather than combat. They wondered if they were elite spirit contractors from the front lines just racking up points. Meanwhile, the captain of the first unit was checking the mission logs. His face darkened as he saw the same name repeated multiple times. Deep Blue City, Squad 0527. Furious, he threw the tablet to the ground. He demanded to know if the Deep Blue City Guardians were stealing their missions or trying to humiliate them. He shouted an order for the first unit to assemble, declaring they would show those outsiders who really ruled that territory. And so, the entire Kanai City Guardian force was put on high alert. One team member smiled enthusiastically, telling the boss that it seems they weren't the only ones fed up and that by working together, they would show the Deep Blue City team what real strength was. But before he could finish, a chubby guy pointed ahead and cursed, telling them to look. When they arrived, they found the mission site covered in corpses of demon tail snakes. Their skins and gallbladders had already been completely extracted. The captain of the first unit was enraged, calling them mission thieves and saying it was absurd. Slamming the hood of the vehicle, he ordered everyone to turn the cars around to hunt them down, demanding answers. But one of his subordinates quickly held him back, reporting that they had already left Kanai. He explained that after submitting the mission, someone saw their huge black van leaving through the city gates. The captain almost coughed up blood from frustration as dramatic chords of a sad ballad seemed to play in the background. Meanwhile, at the Guardian headquarters, Sumin Suan, the third in command, analyzed the reports of the latest missions. He muttered to himself, wondering why mission completion rates had suddenly increased in Kanai, Deep Blue City, and the surrounding areas, suspecting something unusual had happened. Hearing that, his subordinate answered honestly, explaining that a team from Deep Blue City had recently been labeled as a mission thief squad. He said they were taking tasks from other cities, causing a chain reaction. Sumin Suan's interest piqued immediately. He asked who these people were. It wasn't long before 3 files marked Team 0527 arrived at his desk. The first file was for Jifan, former captain of Team 0527 in Deep Blue City, an SS-level spirit contractor who served on the front lines. After losing his contracted spirit, he fell into despair and voluntarily enlisted in the Guard. The file noted his immortal talent, theorizing near immortality, and marked his status as top secret. The second file was for Bai Shuang, an A-level spirit contractor codenamed Red Warbler, who served with Shifan on the same battlefront and transferred with him to the Guard. Her talent was listed as lie, allowing spoken lies to become reality, which was noted as extremely dangerous. Her file status was also top secret. Sumin Suan frowned. 2 top secret files in a row seemed like too much of a coincidence, but he figured the third one surely wouldn't be secret too. When he opened the third file, his jaw dropped. The name was Hanzon, but the rest of the document was completely blank. He wondered if someone had forgotten to fill it out. At that moment, the phone on his desk rang suddenly. As soon as he answered, a stern voice came on the line identifying himself as Director Linzen. Hearing that name, Sumin Suan's heart almost stopped. He wondered why such an important person was calling him personally and if the unit division was going to act. Before he could think more, Linzen continued coldly. He ordered Director Sumin Suan to immediately stop the investigation of that file, stating that the subject exceeded his clearance level. The call ended. Sumin Suan wiped cold sweat from his forehead, incredulous. He wondered who the hell Hanzon was, noting that even top secret didn't cover that level. Meanwhile, Hanzon had just completed his 18th mission with his team. He immediately asked Bai Shuang to check their current score. At his request, Bai Shuang brought up the data on the tablet. Jifan, practically jumping with excitement, was sure they had reached the top of the rankings, but Bai Shuang looked up with a conflicted expression. She reported they now had 1,800 points, but were still in last place. Jifan and Yue were shocked, asking how that was possible and if someone was completing missions faster than them. Bai Shuang clenched her fists and growled that it could only be Zhao Hu manipulating things behind the scenes. Hanzan checked the score list and soon noticed something strange. Several teams in the lower positions were now tied with 2,300 points. It became clear that they had agreed to pool mission rewards under a single name, and since all missions were completed correctly, they technically weren't breaking any rules. Bai Shuang gritted her teeth, furious, convinced it was all directed against her. But Hanzan remained calm. He told her not to stress, pointing out that the difference wasn't that big and they still had a chance to catch up. He then added that they had been out too long and it was time to return to Deep Blue City. Shortly after, Li Shutong saw Hanzan and Yue return to the village and quickly approached them. He asked how the trip went. Hanzan was direct, saying they had some gains, but overall the results weren't great. He mentioned the only good thing was saving the Sang family convoy. Li Shutong raised an eyebrow and realized that the girl from the Sang family they saved must have been Sang Sating. He chuckled, saying it now made sense why she kept bothering him, asking how to awaken her powers and become a stronger spirit contractor. He mentioned she kept calling someone a heartless wretch and figured it was Hanzan. Seeing Hanzan's confused expression, he explained that he was an old friend of her grandfather, and she was like a granddaughter to him. He noted that her family, the Sangs, ran Deep Tech, one of the 5 largest corporations specializing in advanced weaponry for those without contract spirits. He revealed that the entire escort mission was a setup to scare her into quitting, but Hanzan had ruined their plans completely. Hanzan blinked in surprise, realizing he messed things up by trying to help. Li Shutong shrugged and said it didn't matter because what they were transporting was for him anyway. He opened a secure case and smiled, presenting his gift to the two of them, advancement elixirs. He explained they not only increased basic attributes but could also improve innate talent. He gave one to each of them. Without hesitation, Hanzan and Yue looked at each other and thanked their master in unison. Without wasting time, they each took a bottle and drank it all at once. In a few moments, a wave of power enveloped Hanzan. Within just 2.5 seconds, Hanzan had successfully advanced to level 2 as a spirit contractor. At the same time, Yue experienced an impressive transformation. Not only did she break through to level 2, but she also awakened a new divine trait called Celestial Phenomena of 4 aspects. Despite being called Celestial Will, it was actually the personification of the 4 forces of nature: wind, fire, thunder, and lightning. Additionally, she unlocked 2 new battle compositions, Inferno and 6 Celestial Thunders. Feeling the surge of power inside her, Yue exclaimed that it was incredible, feeling as if her strength had exploded. Hanzan was also impressed, calling the elixirs insane and joking that if he could take one a day, he would be unstoppable. Li Shutong laughed and scolded him, asking if he thought this was vegetable farming and if he wanted to harvest elixir every day. At that moment, Hanzan's cell phone rang in his pocket. He answered, and Bai Shuang's anxious voice came from the other side. She told the captain to check the mission list, reporting that a Class 3 wandering insect had been sighted in Deep Blue City. A fully formed wanderer. It's as strong as 3 level 3 spirit contractors combined. We're accepting that mission. Hanzan didn't hesitate. Meet at the rendezvous point immediately. He took Yue's hand and ran out of the village without a second thought. Moments after they left, a shadowy figure appeared inside the house. It was the butler of the Li Sang family. "Master, we found Miss Linzhen, but she still refuses to return," he said quietly. Li Shutong frowned and asked in a grave tone where she was now. The butler answered honestly that she was in Kanai City. Meanwhile, the entire Team 0527 had already arrived at the meeting point. "Captain, have you decided? Are we going or not?" Hanzan answered seriously, asking why they wouldn't go, declaring it was their chance to change the game. Bai Shuang looked worried, saying it was too dangerous, and that even in its juvenile form, they didn't have the strength to face it. Hanzan turned to her and asked if she knew what a red alert really meant. He explained it meant that if they didn't act now, when the thing matured, it could destroy an entire city. He reminded them they weren't fighting just for points. They were city guardians fighting to protect humanity. As soon as he finished speaking, Jifan raised his drink in agreement, saying the captain had said it all and proposed a toast to that. Bai Shuang's face hardened with determination as she said understood, offering to drive them to the mission site. At the same time, an elite squad, also from Deep Blue City, had already arrived at the scene. Observing the city covered in a thick black fog, Sanchao explained that it was the Wanderer's ability, Black Veil, which created a domain blocking all external senses. He added that anything trapped inside, living or dead, would quickly deteriorate and rot until nothing was left. A confused team member asked the captain why, if headquarters had already assigned them to deal with the Wanderer, they had issued a public mission. wondering if they weren't trusted. Sanchao answered with a single word, bait. He added that the Wanderer was absurdly powerful and they needed a wave of people to draw its attention. He stated that, to achieve great things, sometimes difficult decisions must be made. He noted that if they managed to defeat the thing, Deep Blue City's performance would skyrocket that year. For now, he ordered them to hold their position and wait for the first wave of cannon fodder. Meanwhile, Hanzan's team finally reached the edge of the Black Veil. He asked if everyone was ready, warning that once inside, there was no turning back. Bai Shuang nodded firmly, confirming they were ready. Jifan shrugged, saying it didn't affect him and he didn't care. The only one who seemed visibly tense was Yue, clenching her fists. Hanzan gently held her cold, sweaty hand and reassured her, promising that as long as he was there, nothing would happen to her. But the moment they entered, the oppressive atmosphere hit them like a wall. Yue's expression tightened again. She said she didn't know why, but she had a horrible feeling, as if something invisible was watching them. Hanzan replied calmly that the air was dense with an insectoid aura, and that must be what was affecting her senses. Before he could finish the sentence, a soft whisper echoed in the air as if something unseen was watching them. Yue jumped and grabbed onto Hanzan's arm, asking if he heard that strange sound and saying it felt like something was draining their life. Bai Shuang quickly explained it was one of the Black Veil's abilities called Life Drain. She noted that as long as they were inside, their life force would be slowly sucked away until they died. Jafan, now serious, added that according to the intel, they had a maximum of 30 minutes. He warned that if they didn't destroy the domain's core from within before then, they would become food for the Wanderer. Suddenly, Bai Shuang pointed, asking if he meant that black sphere. Jafan looked at it and nodded grimly. The sphere was continuously absorbing vital energy like a vortex, devouring everything around it. Hanzan observed it for a few seconds and stated firmly that all they needed to do was destroy it, noting it didn't seem that difficult. But just as he finished speaking, the ground beneath his feet began to rise. The flat surface twisted and deformed violently, taking away the group's stability. Suddenly, Bai Shuang lost her balance and fell into the living earth. In a blink, Jifan lunged forward and managed to catch her just in time. Hanzan was about to jump to help, but a massive wall emerged from the ground, rising between him and the others. It was the Wanderer's second ability, Life Infusion. Life could be extracted, but also granted, and what it granted life to wasn't limited to creatures. Even weapons, tools, and the terrain itself could be animated. Yue immediately entered combat mode, saying if that was the case, they would cross together. Seeing the spirit zither floating in front of him, Hanzan felt battle energy boiling inside him. Without hesitation, he took Yue in his arms and advanced against the wall. In a blink, numerous dark blades shot from his fingers like a storm crashing against the massive wall. But to the group's frustration, the damage disappeared in seconds. The wall regenerated completely as if it had never been damaged. Hanzan frowned, his frustration rising. He muttered that the regeneration was crazy and that with the current power of the zither blades, they wouldn't be able to break it. Before he could think of another strategy, multiple walls rose in all directions, transforming the environment into a gigantic living labyrinth. His face hardened with seriousness as he quickly realized the Wanderer was trying to trap them there and kill them slowly. At that moment, a flying insect appeared right behind him. The attack was launched at nearly 130 kilometers per hour. Fortunately, Yue shouted a warning just in time, and Hanzan managed to barely dodge the lethal blow. The insect missed its target and vanished into the wall without a trace. Hanzan stood paralyzed for a second. He muttered that it moved so fast he didn't even know if he really saw it. Without wasting any more time, he took Yue in his arms and ran toward what looked like an exit. Meanwhile, on the other side, Sanchao's team advanced with total confidence. After all members were level 3 spiritual practitioners. They believed that even if the mission failed, a safe retreat wouldn't be a problem. But just as those words were spoken, the ground beneath them began to shake violently. In seconds, the team was separated and trapped inside a huge labyrinth. The red-headed team member instinctively looked at his captain only to see Sanchao standing motionless with a disturbing look. He approached cautiously and asked if the captain was okay. Before he could finish the sentence, Sanchao suddenly lunged forward and grabbed his teammate by the throat. As life drained from his eyes, he had one last terrifying vision: a silver insect slowly crawling out of Sanchao's forehead, floating briefly in the air, and then burying itself into his eye. Elsewhere in the labyrinth, Bai Shuang and Jifan leaned on each other, struggling to find a way out. Barely 2.5 seconds had passed when Jifan, known for giving up easily, lost all patience. He complained that they were truly trapped and asked what the point of trying was, suggesting they just lie down and wait for rescue since that was his thing. Bai Shuang got angry and asked who said they couldn't get out. She slammed her palm hard against the wall in front of her and shouted for it to wake up, declaring it was nothing but dead earth. Her innate ability, Lie, kicked into action, and the wall shattered instantly. Jifan's jaw dropped as he asked what the hell just happened, amazed that it actually worked. With more and more walls falling, Hanzan's figure finally appeared in the distance. Bai Shuang shouted for the captain to watch out. Hanzan turned instinctively, seeing an avalanche of rocks falling from the ceiling. He reacted in time, launching himself upward and narrowly avoiding the impact. Seeing he was unharmed, Bai Shuang and Jifan ran toward him, but they had barely taken a few steps when a giant fist suddenly appeared behind them. Hanzan shouted a warning. In an instant, he took Yue in his arms, and with a quick movement of his zither, launched a sonic blade that sliced the giant fist in half. When the dust settled, a stone giant over 3 meters tall appeared in front of them and, without a word, launched a brutal attack. The force of the blow sent Jifan and Bai Shuang flying through the air. Hanzan quickly activated his joyful wind ability and managed to catch them mid-air. He stated seriously that those monsters were summoned by the Wanderer. He said they needed to destroy its core quickly. He explained that since it released the black veil, its body had merged with the domain, and the only remaining target was that black sphere. He assured them that if they destroyed it, everything would end. Bai Shuang and Jifan exchanged looks and nodded. They told the captain to go, promising to hold the line. As they spoke, the stone giant roared and attacked again. Jifan didn't hesitate. He shouted for immortality to be granted to him. The next instant, a golden light enveloped his entire body. He faced the giant's 250 kilograms stomp head-on and stood firm. Gritting his teeth, he shouted to the captain that the ability only allowed him to withstand 6 hits, so he needed to hurry. Hearing the warning, Hanzan wasted no time running directly toward the black sphere. He called upon the spirits of the 6 celestial generals, servants of the emperor, to rise with his zither and answer his call. As his voice resonated, 6 ghostly statues with unique forms appeared in the sky, exuding divine pressure. Thunder struck from the heavens, hitting the black sphere with devastating force. In just 2.5 seconds, the sphere shattered with a boom, reduced to dust and completely obliterated. Jifan's face lit up with joy, shouting that they did it. But Hanzan, with a bloody and serious face, yelled not to celebrate yet and told them to run. The warning came too late. A shadowy figure struck him with a massive punch, sending him flying far away. The figure called them pathetic humans and declared none of them would leave alive. Jifan froze as he clearly saw the attacker. It was a fully mature wanderer. Paralyzed, he wondered how on earth there was an adult one still there. At that moment, Bai Shuang's expression twisted into something strangely joyful. She smiled and said she used light to hide it and kept it inside her the whole time. She revealed she was just waiting for the perfect moment to release it and land the final blow. Seeing their surprise, she asked if they didn't see that coming. Hanzan looked at her, confused and furious, asking why the hell she would do that. Bai Shuang then burst into laughter with tears running down her eyes, repeating his question before saying of course it was because she wanted to kill all of them. As she spoke, a silver glow appeared in the depths of her pupils, revealing the unmistakable silhouette of an insect. Hanzan's face darkened. He realized it was the second time he had seen that, and there was no doubt. Bai Shuang had been parasitized. That silver figure in her eyes was none other than the legendary high-level parasite, the Mind Eater. The Mind Eater was a level 4 insectoid, feared for its terrifying ability, Brain Feast. Any living being it invaded lost all autonomy and became a puppet. Even worse, it could reproduce asexually, dividing infinitely. In the history of Blue Star, there was a case where even a level 7 guardian was taken over by a Mind Eater. Under its control, he massacred the very city he swore to protect. Back then, the organization had to invest enormous resources and time to eliminate the infected warrior, a nightmare that almost destroyed everything. This parasite species was supposed to have been completely extinct 25 years ago, so Hanzan wondered why it had reappeared now. Jifan stepped in front of Hanzan, ready to use his immortality ability to buy time for him to escape. But Hanzan calmly shook his head, saying there was no way out. He explained that after absorbing the dead juvenile, the adult wanderer's black veil had expanded 10 times, meaning at their current pace, they would be dead long before reaching the edge. He told Jifan he just needed the duration of a song, and asked for only that much time. Hanzan closed his eyes and began to heal his body. The parasitized Bai Shuang's face twisted in panic, shouting to stop him. As soon as she finished speaking, the wanderer raised its arm and released a devastating explosion of energy. Jifan stood firm, activated his immortality, and blocked the blow head-on. While he held the line, Bai Shuang appeared beside him, grabbing his shoulder with a sarcastic smile. She taunted him, saying his immortal body was just a lie. Jifan flinched, roared in anger, and headbutted her in the face, shouting that she didn't get to decide what was real. Bai Shuang was thrown back. One of the 10 insects in her pupils detached and shot like lightning, burying itself into Jifan's arm before he could react. Without hesitation, he activated his immortality again. He ripped the parasite from his flesh and crushed it in his fist with a horrible sound. Only 2 activations of immortality remained. The adult wanderer watched the whole scene and laughed, calling it an impressive ability but asking how long he could hold out. It began gathering energy again. this time forming a razor-sharp war spear. Jifan stepped back, activated his immortality, and absorbed the blow head-on. But when the spear impacted, cracks were heard in his golden shield. With a strained voice, he shouted to the captain, asking how much time was left. At that moment, the music stopped. Hanzan opened his eyes and spoke with a resolved voice. He announced that thanks to the healing power of the Clarity Elixir, he was at full strength again. He told Jifan to take care of the Mind Eater. Wasting no time, launched the first form of the Eightfold Fist, remarking that he didn't think push himself so hard and challenging him to see who would visit their ancestors first. To its surprise, the Wanderer dodged the blow easily, noting the impressive power for Hanzan's age and admitting he was surprised. As he spoke, he slowly pulled an ancient flaming sword from his mouth, challenging Hanzan to see how many hits he could take. As soon as he said that, the creature charged, slashing with its fire blade, but Hanzan used the brief interval of the monologue to put on a special pair of gauntlets given to him by his senior brother. With all his strength, he threw a punch straight at the incoming blade. With a snap, the sword's terrifying energy shattered. The Wanderer froze in midair, surprised, asking how he got those gauntlets. It recalled that over a decade ago, one of Hanzan's kind killed a Worm King on the battlefield. The Wanderer growled. It admitted that man was a true warrior but claimed Hanzan was nothing. As it spoke, it put even more force into the blow, trying to destroy the gauntlets that had humiliated its species. Hanzan smiled with disdain, replying that he might not be a warrior, but the Wanderer wasn't a Worm King either. He activated the Eightfold Fist again, his body becoming a blur. In an instant, he closed the distance and landed a ferocious punch to the right side of the Wanderer's ribcage. But at that same moment, the creature's flaming sword pierced the left side of Hanzan's chest. The impact threw them far apart, separated by at least 25 meters. Hanzan held his bleeding chest, growling a curse. He realized that if they didn't take it down before it completely absorbed the juvenile's energy, they stood no chance. Without hesitation, Hanzan activated the second level of the Eightfold Fist cultivation. A wave of spiritual energy flooded his body, running through every nerve and vessel. He launched himself like a lightning bolt, too fast for the naked eye to follow. Before the Wanderer could react, Hanzan's fist struck the creature's chest hard. In the next instant, the monster's enormous body disintegrated. Standing firmly, Hanzan looked down and coldly told it that it had lost. But to his surprise, the Wanderer began to laugh, correcting him by saying, "No, you lost." The next second, its shattered body began to reassemble before Hanzan's stunned eyes. Even worse, it had completely absorbed the juvenile's energy and merged with the black veil. The ground beneath Hanzan's feet came alive. Thick, earth-colored chains burst from the soil and wrapped tightly around him. The Wanderer raised both arms, summoning a gigantic meteorite charged with destructive power, declaring it was the end and that no one escaped him. It announced they would all die there. As soon as it said that, the colossal meteorite capable of annihilating all life fell upon them. In a desperate move, Jifan activated his last charge of immortality, placing himself between the team and certain death. But against such force, one human was too small. His last activation lasted only 2.5 seconds before shattering completely. Just as Jifan was about to be crushed, the meteorite froze in midair. Then an aged but powerful voice resonated across the battlefield, announcing the sixth form of the Eightfold Fist, the back strike. The attack happened in the blink of an eye. Both the Wanderer and the meteorite were obliterated by a golden strike, reduced to dust, and the black veil finally dissipated. A familiar figure emerged from the void. Li Shutong had arrived. Seeing his master reappear, Hanzan's heart finally calmed. He exhaled softly with a tired smile on his lips, thinking he was finally free. Then everything went dark, and he fell unconscious. When Hanzan finally woke up, 2.5 days had passed since the battle. According to Yue, while he was unconscious, his master eliminated the 10 parasites, but since they couldn't locate the queen, the threat hadn't been fully resolved. Jifan, who had given everything to block the meteor, had practically every bone and vein destroyed. Although he survived thanks to his immortality ability, he was still in the ICU on the verge of death. That was when a nurse burst into the room, clearly nervous, asking if they were his teammates and reporting that Jifan had disappeared. At that moment, Yue remembered her master's instructions to track the Mind Eater on her own since Bai Shuang was still missing. It became clear that Jifan had gone after her. Hanzan got out of bed immediately and declared firmly that Bai Shuang was a level 4 Mind Eater who could reproduce asexually and divide indefinitely. However, he noted that if the queen parasite was destroyed, all copies would die with her. Yue completed his thought with a somber tone, saying Jifan must have realized this and gone alone. She added one more thing. The Guardian organization had deducted 100 points from Team 0527 for not leaving even the Wanderer's body behind, as all materials were taken directly to headquarters. Since the mission was completed by Li Shutong, all other teams were marked as failed and had their points reduced. Hearing this, Hanzan let out an incredulous laugh, pointing out that they were risking their lives out there while the people in the back were conspiring behind them. He asked if the master said anything. Yue replied quietly that he said it was a matter between them and the Deep Blue City Guardians, and no one else would interfere. Hearing this, Hanzan grabbed Yue's hand and headed straight for the exit. He told her they were going to take back what was rightfully theirs, reasoning that if the master said no one would interfere, it meant not just him, but the other big shots would also stay out of it. Meanwhile, at the Guardian headquarters, a group of arrogant officers was celebrating. They praised Captain Zhao Hu for being generous, noting he had divided the level 4 insect materials among all the teams. At that moment, the doors were kicked open. Hanzan entered furiously, with Yue by his side, demanding to know where Zhao Hu was and calling him a coward. The room fell into total silence. Only San Chao laughed, asking Captain Hanzan, who pissed in his tea, and warning him to be careful with his words, stating this wasn't a place for tantrums. Before he could finish speaking, he advanced with his fist raised, but before he could get close, Hanzan slapped him across the face, fast and brutal. With force concentrated in his arm, he knocked San Chao to the floor with one blow, asking if anyone had ever told him that his arrogant smile made him want to rearrange his face. The people present were stunned, thinking it was crazy that one hit put the guy on the floor. Hearing the murmurs, San Chao growled, pulled out a dagger, and attacked again. The result was the same. Hanzan disarmed him with a single movement, effortlessly. He asked if San still didn't understand, saying he would teach him what respect was today. That was when Zhao Hu stormed in furiously, asking Hanzan what the hell he thought he was doing. Hanzan smiled coldly, lifting San Chao by his collar. He demanded that Zhao Hu apologize to him and his team right there and then. Zhao Hu scoffed, calling it a joke and telling him to keep dreaming. He then ordered a subordinate to send the footage of the incident to Guardian headquarters, specifically to the third in command, Suminsuan, and the Internal Affairs Division, telling the kid he was finished and they would destroy him when they saw the video. Yue looked worried, but Hanzan reassured her calmly, saying that with his master backing him, they wouldn't dare touch him. As expected, a subordinate soon returned with the response. Headquarters informed them that this was an internal matter of the Deep Blue City Guardians and they would let them resolve it. The Internal Affairs Division added that the young fighter demonstrated impressive talent. They asked if Hanzan would be interested in joining them. Zhao Hu completely lost control, cursing the bureaucrats. But faced with the situation, he had no choice but to swallow his pride. He turned to Hanzan and asked through clenched teeth what he wanted and how they could resolve this so he would let it go. Since the Wanderer's materials had already been distributed, Hanzan made his demand. They opened the Guardian's vault. He said he would choose whatever he wanted on behalf of his entire team until he was satisfied. Zhao Hu's first reaction was to refuse, as the chest contained some of the organization's most valuable resources. But after thinking a bit, he concluded that Hanzan only had 2 hands, so how much could he possibly carry? With a bitter expression, he nodded. He agreed but set a condition. Only Hanzan could enter, and when he came out, everything he took had to be visible, in his hands, with nothing hidden anywhere. Hanzan released the nearly unconscious San Chao with a slap and smiled, saying deal and warning Zhao Hu not to go back on his word. As soon as the agreement was sealed, Hanzan's eyes narrowed, and a malicious smile appeared at the corner of his lips. He thought to himself, nothing hidden, only what's in the hands. Good thing no one mentioned dimensional rings. With that, he crossed the huge vault doors, surrounded by shelves full of priceless treasures. Outside, one of the guards leaned toward Zhao Hu and whispered, asking if the captain was sure it was safe and wondering if Hanzan would cause trouble inside. Zhao Hu just waved his hand unconcernedly. He pointed out there were over 10,000 items in that vault, and that Hanzan was just a fresh academy graduate who wouldn't know what was what. And even if he did, he couldn't carry much with 2 hands. Meanwhile, Hanzan was already inside the vault, his eyes shining at the countless treasures stacked to the ceiling. He saw petals of eternal ice, leaves of branched grass, limbs of a level 3 bone ant, wings of a level 5 ghost moth, and even the shell of a level 6 wall crab, a prime material for forging defensive armor. A smile spread across Hanzan's face. He decided he would be an idiot if he didn't take all of it. Without hesitation, he discreetly activated his dimensional ring and began sweeping all the valuable items into his inventory. 2.5 hours passed and Hanzan still hadn't come out. Zhao Hu was starting to get nervous, about to go check personally, when a calm voice resonated from the entrance, apologizing for the delay. Yue ran over as soon as she saw Hanzan's silhouette, asking how it went and what he got. Hanzan just smiled enigmatically, and without saying a word, took her hand and left, saying he would tell her when they got home. Zhao Hu watched them leave, confused. He wondered what the hell just happened, noting Hanzan came out empty-handed and didn't take anything. He immediately ordered his men to go inside and check. Shortly after, his cell phone vibrated with an alarmed report stating that the brat took half the vault. Half! Zhao Hu's ears rang with rage. He cursed the greedy brat. He realized that the vault belonged to the Guardian organization. If he had only taken a few items, they could have covered it up, but with half the vault gone, there was no way headquarters would let it slide. He filed a formal complaint reporting everything to headquarters. The response arrived in just 2 words: good resolution. Good job. Zhao stood there stunned, cursing the bureaucrats. Back at the villa, Hanzan sat on the sofa quietly reflecting on the day's events. Teaching Zhao a lesson wasn't just satisfying, it was a clear warning. He wondered if Zhao would try to act tough again anytime soon. At that moment, Yue came out of the bathroom and spoke softly. She told Hanzan it was late and asked him to come sleep with her. She confessed that ever since he got hurt that one time, she was afraid of losing him. So that night, no matter what, she wouldn't let him escape. Just when things started heating up, the door opened with a loud creak. A girl appeared in the doorway wearing a vacuum-sealed robe with nothing underneath. Yue's face turned scarlet, and she immediately pulled away from Hanzan in embarrassment. Hanzan looked at the newcomer confused, asking who she was. The girl smiled mischievously, teasing him that he lived in her grandfather's house and didn't even know who she was. Then it hit him. That was little Linson, Li Shutong's granddaughter. But what surprised him most was that she had awakened one of the 10 ancient divine artifacts, the Xenon Cauldron. Hanzan sighed, covering his eyes with one hand and pointing at her clothes, asking if she was really okay walking around like that. Linson shrugged naturally, saying she felt more comfortable that way at home, and that being like that stimulated her creativity. Then she approached Yue with a mischievous smile, asking if she interrupted something and suggesting they continue, or maybe they should join in. Yue got furious. She pointed out they didn't even know each other and had no emotional bond, asking how she could be so impulsive. Linson tilted her head confused, asking why a contract would require an emotional bond. Realizing the misunderstanding, Yue turned completely red and let out a shy sound. Trying to change the subject, Hanzan intervened. He told Linson her F-rank talent had divine potential, and that if she formed a contract with him, he could use divine enlightenment to help her reach a second awakening. Little Linson's eyes lit up instantly. She asked if he was serious and said, "Let's do it right now." Without hesitation, she began unbuttoning her robe. Hanzan froze, telling her to wait. He asked what taking off her clothes had to do with forming a contract. Linson answered naturally, reminding him she was a bestseller author and claiming that in her books, contracts always required close physical contact. Hanzan and Yue stared at her. Hanzan shook his head and sighed, saying it now made sense why her books were constantly banned. He told her he thought he would have to save her from herself before she did something even more absurd. As soon as he finished speaking, golden chains of contractual magic appeared around the two of them. Hanzan opened his eyes and shouted for divine invocation. A wave of powerful energy exploded from little Linson's body. In just 2.5 seconds, a ghostly image began to form above her head, one of the 10 ancient divine artifacts, the Xenon Cauldron. As more energy flowed into her body, Linson's contractual spirit underwent a complete transformation. It evolved from a weak spirit to an SS-level artifact spirit, the highest level, and awakened a divine trait called true essence refinement. This allowed her to absorb the essence of spiritual materials, rare herbs, or insectoid beasts, and condense their energy into its purest form. Witnessing this, Hanzan was stunned. He realized that ability could extract pure energy, meaning she could strengthen herself whenever she wanted. Little Linson slowly regained consciousness, looking at her glowing hands in awe, realizing that was her ability. Hanzan nodded in wonder, agreeing it was incredible. Yue, sensing the atmosphere, asked if he wanted to test now how much he weighed. She stood up quickly, saying she would bring some tea, and asking if they could continue. As she left, she muttered with an ironic smile, wondering who would have thought the rookie was also a divine-level spirit. But 2.5 minutes later, when she returned with the teapot, she was startled by noises coming from the room. Noises of movement, followed by Linson's desperate voice telling him to stop and not put any more in because it was already full. Yue stopped for a moment, puzzled by the shouts. Then, furious, she kicked the door open, demanding to know what they were doing at that hour of the night. But as soon as she saw the scene, her face turned instantly red. After all, they really were putting things inside, refining materials using the Xenon Cauldron. At that moment, the cauldron glowed brightly under little Linson's direction. Moments later, several pure white pills condensed in Hanzan's hand. Yue ran over to see, asking what they were. Hanzan replied calmly that they were spiritual energy pills, and that taking one increased core energy by at least 1%. Before she could admire the result, Linson reverted to her human form and threw herself into Hanzan's arms. She complained that the pill fire still hadn't gone out and she was burning up, pleading for him to help her cool down. Hanzan blushed to the roots of his hair, telling her not to do that, but her hands were already pulling Yue into the middle of the chaos. What happened next? Let's just say some curious spectators might want to know off camera. And don't try this squeezing at home or anywhere before marriage. The next morning, between the two girls, Hanzan couldn't help feeling he had won at life. Linson leaned back on the sofa with a satisfied smile, her eyes shining, saying she didn't expect him to be so good and that it was truly revealing. Even Yue had to admit, blushing slightly, that after 8 rounds, her internal energy was much more refined. Sensing the awkward atmosphere, Hanzan cleared his throat and and quickly changed the subject. He announced enough rest and declared that starting today, they would officially begin investigating the 10 parasite queens and searching for the missing members of Team 0527. Little Linson blinked confused, asking who was missing, but the moment she saw Bai Shuang's photo, she let out a small gasp, saying she thought she had seen that woman before. She asked if the woman usually danced at night. Hanzan asked suspiciously how she would know that. Linson answered naturally that she also went there, explaining that the Bliss nightclub was the biggest dance hall in all of Deep Blue City, and asking if they really didn't know that. Hanzan's eyes shone with excitement. He said it was perfect and gave them a solid lead. He immediately took out a small spray bottle and sprayed the two of them. The girls made a face and covered their noses, asking what that horrible smell was. Hanzan explained it was a pyrocana flower spray. He noted that parasitic insects are extremely sensitive to the smell and it drives them crazy, making it perfect for detecting if someone has been infected. After getting ready, Hanzan took Yue and Linson directly to the Bliss nightclub, the most popular nightclub in Deep Blue City. As soon as they entered, he went to the reception and asked if there was a woman named Zhang Yan Wei there. The receptionist's expression twisted strangely. He raised an eyebrow and smiled sideways, repeating the name Zhang Yan Wei. Hanzan nodded firmly, confirming the name. The moment he repeated it, the entire hall fell silent. All eyes turned toward them. Just as Hanzan prepared for a fight, the bartender shouted excitedly that finally someone said the name. He announced that it meant this customer was the one they were waiting for and that he would pay for everything today, drinks in the house. Instantly, the crowd erupted in celebration. People applauded, shouted, and even danced, saying the pool was starting. Still confused, Hanzan tried to understand the situation. The bartender approached and explained that yesterday a mysterious customer ran up a huge tab and said eventually someone would come and say the words Zhang Yan Wei. He explained that the person, in this case Hanzan, would pay the entire debt and fund the club's whole night. Hearing the explanation, Yue frowned hard and muttered, wondering who would do something so cruel. But Hanzan already understood. He calmly said it was Jifan, noting only he would leave a gift like that. The bartender then pulled a wooden box from under the counter, saying that the same man left this too and insisted it be delivered directly to him. As soon as Hanzan took the box, he noticed it was wrapped in a faint golden glow, a familiar aura that belonged to the innate talent known as immortal. The moment his fingers touched the surface, the golden shield shined and slowly faded as if recognizing his presence. Inside the box, there was only a folded note. Opening it, Hanzan found two pieces of information, one about Jin Ming, the captain of the 1st Tactical Unit of Deep Blue City, and another about the parasite known as the erosion worm. Little Linson looked over his shoulder and asked curiously what his partner was trying to say. Hanzan paused for a moment before answering. He explained that the mother worms began dividing in February, which meant there were currently 7 confirmed infected hosts throughout the city. He looked up with determination, realizing this changed everything and allowed them to narrow down their targets. As soon as he finished speaking, Hanzan suddenly felt the urge to go to the restroom. He told Yue and Linson to wait there. Upon entering the restroom, he bumped into a middle-aged man in a suit who was leaving. The man stopped abruptly, his face twisting with rage, and screamed insanely that he hated the smell of lilacs more than anything. Without warning, he lunged at Hanzan with a heavy punch. Unimpressed, Hanzan responded with a single palm strike, sending the man flying 25 meters down the hall. As the man fell, a silvery glow burst from his mouth. A parasitic worm exploded from his body like steam from a broken pipe. Recognizing it immediately, Hanzan caught it in midair and crushed the erosion worm into a viscous paste, completely destroying it. Hearing the commotion, Yue and Little Linson ran over, their faces full of concern. Hanzan calmly wiped his hands and explained that it was an erosion worm and the host was the owner of the hall. He noted that the situation was resolved but entered deep thought, pointing out that there were 7 hosts in total, and they had only identified 1 so far. Little Linson frowned and offered an opinion based on her novels, suggesting that villains are always close to the protagonist. She wondered if the people around Jin Ming were already infected. Hanzan nodded decisively, agreeing that they needed to find more clues immediately. But as soon as he left the dance hall, a young man with a machete ran toward him, shouting that he was going to finish him. Hanzan dodged the attack with minimal effort and delivered a powerful kick that knocked the young man to the ground, rendering him unconscious instantly. As he fell, another silver insect came out of his mouth. Without hesitation, Hanzan raised his hand and crushed the creature in the air. Little Linson was surprised, noting that it was another erosion worm and that it seemed too convenient. Yue looked at the fallen attacker and gasped, realizing she knew him as one of Zhao men. Hearing this, Hanzan's eyes lit up with understanding. He realized that all the infected people were connected to that place. From Jin Ming, the owner of the nightclub, to this guy, they had all been at the Bliss nightclub. His expression darkened as he continued, noting there was a single common connection between them all: Zhao, the acting captain of the 1st unit. Suddenly, a chill ran through Hanzan's heart as he realized exactly where Jifan had gone. Meanwhile, on the top floor of the Guardian headquarters, Zhao Hu was exercising while his secretary laughed and complimented him. Just as he was about to finish, the door crashed open. Jifan burst in directly from the hospital, fury burning in his eyes. He accused Zhao Hu of eliminating Jin Ming to steal his position and using parasitic insects to suppress gifted awakeners and linked spirits. He asked how Zhao Hu dared to remain free with all those crimes on his shoulders. Zhao Hu mocked him, calling him Jin Ming's useless little brother and asking if he came to throw a tantrum because his girlfriend died. Jifan's anger exploded, shouting that it was all Zhao Hu's fault and declaring he would end it all that night. But Zhao Hu remained arrogant, telling Jifan not to blame him, but to blame them for choosing the wrong side. He pointed out that Jifan had been talking the whole time without worrying about the reinforcements arriving. The instant those words came out, Zhao Hu's men rushed in. One of them shouted that the man attempted to assassinate a city guardian and ordered his immediate execution. Jifan's eyes burned with anger as he activated his immortal shield, calling them scoundrels and preparing to take them all down. At that moment, Hanzan arrived with Yue and Linsen. With a flick of his wrist, he threw several attackers against the wall. Zhao Hu's eyes widened in surprise, wondering what Hanzan was doing there. Hanzan smiled slightly and asked if Zhao Hu really thought they would let Jifan fight alone. Zhao Hu growled, asking if Captain Hanzan was really on the side of an assassin. Hanzan's voice turned cold as he stated that this was between them and Zhao Hu, warning that anyone who didn't want to perish should get out. He narrowed his eyes and said he tried to be nice, but if they wanted to meet their end so badly, he would grant that wish. Hanzan advanced with fists flying. His blows landed like thunder, and the enemies could barely react. In moments, they were all on the ground groaning in pain. Jifan watched in awe, wondering how much time had passed since Hanzan's fists became even sharper than before. Suddenly, little Linsen pointed and shouted that Zhao Hu was trying to flee. Hanzan bolted after him, shouting that he wouldn't escape. He unleashed a brutal punch straight to Zhao Hu's stomach. The next second, Zhao Hu coughed up blood and stumbled back. At that instant, a small insect shot out of his forehead. Fortunately, Hanzan reacted immediately. Before the insect could escape, he crushed it in midair with his fist. Someone nearby screamed, accusing him of actually finishing Captain Zhao Hu and calling him crazy. They asked if he believed the Guardians were the greatest power in Deep Blue City, revealing that the true ruler was the city lord. Hearing this, Hanzan's expression changed. He realized they had fallen straight into a trap. He turned to the others and firmly told them to find their master right now, saying only he could get them out of there. Yue shook her head without hesitation, insisting she would stay with him no matter what. Seeing her determination, Hanzan didn't argue. He took her hand and ran without looking back. Meanwhile, at the city lord's mansion, the lord gave a cold order to the guards to spread the word that Hanzan was suspected of eliminating Zhao Hu. He wanted him hunted down throughout the city. His face twisted with malice as he noted he didn't expect the bait to be taken so quickly and the fish to be caught so deep. Under the night sky, Hanzan walked alone through empty streets until he pushed open an old wooden door. He knew clearly in his heart that he had to separate from Yue and the others, or they would be dragged into the storm. At that instant, an old man with a severe expression appeared at the top of the stairs, looking down at him coldly. He announced that Hanzan had eliminated an organization officer and ordered him to surrender. His voice roared like thunder as he commanded him to kneel. An overwhelming pressure fell on Hanzan like a mountain. His legs gave way, and he was forced to his knees, unable to resist. Elsewhere, in a traditional pavilion, Li Shutong was calmly pouring tea. With a slight smile, he commented on how mysterious it was, asking if all this theater was really necessary between old friends. A man dressed in black stepped out of the shadows, stating that Li Shutong's chosen successor had already been captured and the evidence was solid, meaning he would be publicly executed the next day. He noted that Li Shutong still seemed calm. Li Shutong slammed the cup against the table, his face darkening. In the blink of an eye, a ferocious pressure exploded from his body. His eyes were sharp as blades as he growled, asking if they really wanted to turn this into a war between old friends. The man in black shrugged casually, saying that even if he destroyed that quantum clone, it wouldn't change anything. Li Shutong relaxed his aura and laughed, shaking his head. He said he almost forgot about their backing, but added that it didn't matter because the real surprise hadn't started yet. The man in black didn't say anything more and slowly faded away. Moments later, one of Li Shutong's disciples approached and asked if he should rescue the junior brother. Li Shutong looked into his teacup and spoke softly. He explained he had tolerated their games within the organization for too long because he couldn't act until he found the true mastermind. He revealed that they thought luring Hanzan would tie his hands, but they didn't realize Hanzan was actually his bait. He looked toward the horizon and said the next move belonged to Hanzan. In another location, Hanzan was tied hand and foot in a silent, empty chamber. An old man approached and asked in a cold voice if he still refused to confess. Hanzan gritted his teeth and asked what crime he was supposed to confess to. The old man's expression darkened, and without warning, he punched Hanzan hard in the chest. Seeing him stagger, the old man mocked him, telling him to wake up because his allies couldn't save him anymore. He gave Hanzan two choices: join them, representing the future, or continue resisting and face execution the next day. Hearing this, Hanzhan narrowed his eyes. He asked coldly if the level 4 Mind-Eater worm was planted so his team would find it and bring it back to Deep Blue City. The old man didn't bother to hide it, admitting that for them, insects weren't enemies but effective weapons when used correctly. A cold flash crossed Hanzhan's eyes as he said he knew exactly what to choose. The old man leaned in with an icy tone, asking for his choice. Hanzhan smiled sideways and laughed, declaring his choice was option 3, telling them to get lost. The old man's face darkened like a storm. He roared in fury, saying that Hanzhan was asking to meet his end. The next day, all the major media outlets printed the same headline: breaking news, Captain Hanzhan of Unit 0527 would be publicly executed today for treason and eliminating a superior officer. The city lord watched from the top of the second floor of the observation tower. He looked down at the execution field when a subordinate rushed over and respectfully reported that everything was ready and the execution could begin on his order. The city lord nodded indifferently and then asked about the 3 who escaped yesterday, wondering if there was any news. The subordinate lowered his head, clearly uncomfortable. He said they were extremely cunning and suspected they were hiding in a village, but the city lord cut him off coldly, telling him to make no excuses and to keep searching. His gaze turned to Hanzhan, who remained calm on the scaffold. He muttered that time was almost up and wondered why Hanzhan was still so calm, asking what he was hiding. Meanwhile, Hanzhan remained silent, deep in thought. He remembered that his master once told him to do whatever was necessary and that he would support him. He realized that no matter what happened, everything was already in motion. In the square, the crowd murmured, asking if that wasn't the guy who awakened an SS-level spirit contract talent. They thought it was impossible and wondered how he became a traitor, sharing rumors that the higher-ups degraded him to the Guardian Alliance, causing him to go crazy and start taking people down. At that moment, the city lord stood up and greeted the crowd. The gesture instantly silenced the murmurs. The entire square fell silent with all eyes on him. The city lord swept the square with his gaze and spoke loudly. He announced that today was a day of both pride and sadness. He said they were about to lose a young man of extraordinary talent who could have been one of the greatest spirit contractors of the new generation, but out of selfish hatred, he turned to senseless violence. He paused, then raised his voice with authority, adding that, even worse, Hanzhan conspired with insectoids and threatened the peace of Deep Blue City. He asked the crowd if such a man should live. The speech inflamed the crowd's fury, and they roared in unison for them to finish him. Seeing the people so easily manipulated, the city lord smiled with satisfaction. In his mind, there was no doubt that Hanzhan would perish that day. With a dramatic gesture, he shouted for the execution to proceed. The executioner obeyed immediately, activating the guillotine. The blade fell at high speed, the cold steel gleaming just inches away from ending Hanzhan's life. But at that precise second, someone somewhere pressed a hidden button. The blade screeched and stopped suddenly, just 10 centimeters from Hanzhan's neck. The entire square fell into a stunned silence. The executioner looked in disbelief, muttering to himself and wondering what on earth had broken. The city lord realized instantly that the execution had been sabotaged. His face darkened as he swept the crowd with his gaze, shouting to ask who dared to interfere and demanding they show themselves now. At that instant, a girl calmly stepped out of the crowd, holding a remote control in her hand. She looked at the city lord and declared without a trace of fear that Hanzhan had saved her life and she wouldn't let them eliminate him. The city lord recognized her. His face twisted with rage as he identified her as Sang Sighting. Realizing the Sang family was also involved in this, before he could react further, several others stepped forward, throwing off their cloaks and positioning themselves beside Hanzhan. They shouted in unison that they would not allow Hanzhan to be executed. Elsewhere, in a quiet pavilion, Li Shutong was sipping his tea calmly. The man in black reappeared with a satisfied tone, remarking on the guillotine and telling Li that he had lost this game. Li placed his cup down gently. His eyes remained calm but sharp as he replied that the game wasn't over yet. He looked at the black-cloaked figure and firmly asked if he didn't think he declared checkmate too soon. The man in black scoffed, saying they would see, and just like before, his body vanished into thin air. Shortly after, Li's phone lit up and an urgent voice came from the other end of the line. The voice called him Old Li and said the enemy moved too fast, causing them to lose the trail. The voice added that they were one step away from discovering the true mastermind. Li Shutong laughed and replied in a provocative tone, asking Old Sang if he was actually the mastermind. The voice on the other end exploded, cursing him and asking why he would let Sang Sighting march up to a guillotine because of him if he were the mastermind. Soon, both returned to the main topic. The voice on the phone became serious, reporting that they had discovered traces of the organization behind everything. He said they called themselves Aurora and were deeply hidden. Meanwhile, tension grew rapidly in the square. Jafan and the others were surrounded by curious and anxious citizens who couldn't believe they were trying to stop an execution and that even the Sang family was involved. Standing in the center of the square, Sang Sighting raised her voice. She told everyone to open their eyes, declaring that Hanzan wasn't a criminal, but a hero who fought for all of them. She pointed to the huge screen above and told them to watch closely, saying this was the truth. The screen lit up with scenes of Hanzan fighting insects in various regions, risking everything to contain them. His figure moved from battlefield to battlefield, striking down enemies and protecting civilians without ever hesitating. The crowd began to murmur again, noting that he really seemed to care about the people. They wondered if someone like that could really be a traitor. Suddenly, a familiar figure fell from the sky. It was the old man who had captured Hanzan. He floated in the air and, with a booming voice, ordered everyone to be silent. Among the crowd, Jifan and Yue felt the weight of an overwhelming aura crushing them. Jifan whispered, asking who the hell that guy was and how he could be so powerful. Stunned, the old man released a terrifying wave of intent. His voice rumbled like thunder as he declared that eliminating Hanzan was a mission of Aurora and no one had permission to interfere. He looked at Hanzan with deadly eyes and coldly stated that today he would die. At that moment, a giant hand made of pure energy materialized in the sky, roaring as it descended with enough force to level the earth. But before the hand touched Hanzan, it suddenly exploded with a deafening crash. A blinding flash lit up the entire square, forcing the crowd to stagger back. Shocked, the old man's face twisted in alarm as he looked around and muttered, wondering who did that. Before he could react, a sharp, invisible force hit him, knocking him back several steps. He tried to counterattack, but he couldn't even see the aggressor. When the smoke began to clear, the sky was empty. The old man had disappeared, completely erased from existence. The crowd erupted into whispering chaos, wondering what just happened and who stopped the attack. Noting it was too fast to see, Sang Sighting happened to look up and spotted a solitary figure on top of a distant building. He stood with his back to the square, his face hidden, but something about that calm posture and imposing presence made a name flash in her mind: Li Shutong. The city lord's eyes burned with fury. With a roar, he jumped from the tower directly toward Hanzan, his fists slicing through the air. He shouted that even if the gods came down, no one would save him today. Hanzan stood up slowly, a faint glow emanating from his body. His gaze was sharp, his voice calm and resolute as he said that if his master had acted, it meant the time had come. The city lord's fist advanced like a meteor charged with overwhelming force, but at the instant of impact, Hanzan dodged with superhuman speed. A moment later, the ground where he had been exploded violently, creating a huge crater with dust and debris flying everywhere. While the city lord was still stunned by Hanzan's speed, Hanzan had already appeared above him. His presence was sharp as a blade, radiating pure force. Without hesitating, Hanzan brought his fist down like lightning striking from the sky. The blow launched the city lord directly into the ground, opening a colossal crater with a deafening crash. Hanzan stood at the edge of the crater, looking coldly at the fallen enemy below. Suddenly, his eyes narrowed. A tear-devouring worm flew out of the city lord's forehead. Hanzan reacted instantly, catching it in midair and crushing it with a firm grip. Black fluid spilled through his fingers. The crowd watched in silence, stunned. No one expected this. The powerful city lord was infected by a parasite. Hanzan held up the crushed remains and shouted that it was a tear-devouring worm. He explained that it burrows into humans, manipulates minds, clouds judgment, and makes people fight against each other. He said they didn't need to believe him, but everything he did was to protect humanity. Whispers spread through the square as people realized that explained why the city lord had been acting so strangely. They realized Hanzan had saved them, and they were about to be controlled. Li Shutong walked calmly from the back of the crowd and stopped next to Hanzan. He looked at him with a slight smile and asked if he finally understood what it meant to walk between life and death. Hanzan smiled slightly and replied that having his master clean up the mess was fine, but next time he would prefer to be the one moving the pieces, rather than just another pawn on the board. Li Shutong smiled warmly and gave Hanzan a firm pat on the shoulder, telling him he did well. He announced that the parasite queen was gone, and the remaining worms had been eliminated, praising him for doing a great service to humanity. However, he sighed quietly and added that unfortunately, the final blow was too strong, so they didn't get any useful information about Aurora. Hanzan understood the significance immediately and asked what Aurora was. Li Shutong's tone turned grave as he explained it was a secret organization that had infiltrated their guardian ranks. He admitted that so far, they had only found scattered traces, nothing solid enough to expose them. Hanzan frowned. The idea that such a group had already infiltrated the Guardians gave him chills. He realized it was bigger than he imagined. At that moment, Jifan and the others approached with somber faces. They spoke in low voices, reporting that they found Bai Shuang's body. The words hit Hanzan like a punch to the chest. His heart sank, but he took a deep breath and forced himself to maintain his composure, asking where she was. Jifan lowered his voice. He said there were 101 victims in total. He explained that Bai Shuang, along with the others, was preserved in ice, and a sea burial had been organized. Shortly after, the The bodies of Bai Shuang and the others were carefully sealed in coffins and gently lowered into the sea. The icy ocean swallowed them completely, as if burying the pain along with them. Everyone stood in silence by the coast, watching the calm waves. Morning hung in the air, heavy, unspoken, and full of sadness. Hanzan lowered his gaze, guilt weighing on him like a stone. He mentally asked Bai Shuang for forgiveness, regretting that he couldn't protect her. But as they prepared to leave, strange dark veins began to spread across Bai Shuang's face, as if something alive was crawling beneath her skin. Her forehead darkened, and a sickly tone appeared as if something was consuming her body from the inside. Suddenly, her eyes opened wide, and a twisted, grotesque creature burst from her mouth with a frightful scream. Time moved forward. It was now October. A group of friends had gathered around a hot pot table in a cozy village. The atmosphere was relaxed and easygoing. While cooking, Li Shutong casually asked Hanzan if everyone had reached level 3 after the incident with the worm. Hanzan nodded, confirming that even Linson had finally made it and was officially level 3 now. Yue commented with a smile that her music-based powers had also become stronger, adding that she just needed more practice. Sangeting teased Hanzan, asking how about forming a spirit contract with her when she awakened. Hanzan laughed, saying it was tempting, but he only made contracts with partners who possessed divine traits because they resonated with him the most. Sangeting pouted slightly, feeling a bit disappointed, and said she hoped to awaken divine traits someday too. Li Shutong turned to Hanzan and asked in a calm, serious voice what his next step was now that he had reached level 3, noting that there was little left to learn in the rear cities. Hanzan's eyes burned with determination as he told his master that he wanted to keep getting stronger without shortcuts, standing on his own 2 feet to carve a path through this insect-infested world. Li Shutong nodded in approval. He said that in that case, he would contact Jin, who would send transport to pick him up the next day for the frontline detachment. He explained that the first war zone was preparing for a major attack before the year ended. He looked at the others and added that since this was a solo trial, the girls wouldn't go with him. He explained that their growth path was different from a spirit contractor's and that he had found more suitable training grounds for them. Hanzan stood up with his fist over his heart, promising to follow his master's orders no matter what awaited him on the front lines. Dozens of heavy cannons lined the city walls like steel beasts. The thunder of gunfire rained fire on the insect hordes outside the city, lighting up the battlefield with explosions and smoke. Outside the walls, huge serpentine insects twisted and advanced in the darkness, launching a frenzied attack against the human defenses. A frontline commander shouted orders with urgency, coordinating teams to move the wounded to safety, ensuring no life was left behind. A redhead was shocked to see Xiaoya return to the base, noting that he was back already. Xiaoya's face twisted with anger as he scolded Jing Chun, pointing out that his squad lost 3 men and he had crawled back, yet still dared to question him. The redhead replied furiously, calling it absurd. He explained his squad only had 5 people and 3 perished, asking if Xiaoya expected him to keep fighting alone. He accused Xiaoya of losing 2 men and running to hide, telling the coward to have some shame. Xiaoya rolled up his sleeve to show a special mission emblem, asking if Liu thought they were the same and telling him to look closely at his elite mission status. The argument heated up rapidly until the sound of a helicopter rumbled in the sky. The cabin door opened and a tall, calm figure descended. It was Hanzan. He approached the 2 men and greeted them casually, introducing himself as the new reinforcement. Xiaoya narrowed his eyes and asked where his spirit partner was. Hanzan quietly replied that she was at home. This answer made Xiaoya explode with rage. He asked if Hanzan was joking, reminding him that this was a battlefield and asking if he wanted to perish by coming without support. Jing Chun quickly intervened, patting Xiaoya on the shoulder. He told the captain to calm down, noting that this guy didn't come from just any camp. He pointed out his impeccable top-tier gear, suggesting he was a high-lineage city boy. The words hit a nerve, and Xiaoya's anger increased. He sarcastically said it was great that now that they were in a bind, they were sent a pampered prince to babysit. Xiaoya turned to Jing Chun and suggested he take the prince to his squad. Jing Chun immediately shook his head and refused, telling Xiaoya to choose first and not try to push him on him. Out of options, Xiaoya sighed in frustration and agreed to take him. He motioned for Hanzan to follow, saying he would introduce him to the rest of the team. As they walked, Xiaoya asked some basic questions and introduced himself as a level 4 spirit contractor and the squad leader, stating that according to Warzone protocol, Hanzan was under his command. Soon they arrived at a makeshift camp. Xiaoya pointed to 2 figures nearby, introducing them as his new teammates, Kai Sifan and Xiaoqian. Xiaoqian was wringing out her soaked coat, grumbling that the mission was horrible and she was soaked to the bone, complaining about the discomfort. She tried to take off her coat, but it got stuck around her neck. Without looking, she asked Boye to give her a hand. Hanzan looked a bit uncomfortable but approached and helped. When the coat was off, Xiaoqian examined him quickly and turned to Xiaoya, guessing this was the rookie. She noted he looked professional and guessed his spirit partner was in disguise. Before Xiaoya could answer, Hanzan smiled and introduced himself as the new squad member. He reached into his his spatial ring and pulled out some items, saying he brought gifts to share. Hanzan took out 3 sets of level 6 armor and handed them to his teammates. Kaisi-fan and Xiaoqian's eyes lit up, thanking him for the real level 6 armor. Xiaoya dismissed the offer, stating he was a mecha operator and didn't use that kind of stuff. Still, he couldn't help thinking that the rumors were true. With a spatial ring and level 6 armor, this guy had money. Clearing his throat, Xiaoya told them to get to know the rookie while he went to get supplies for the mission. As he walked away, Hanzan asked if he was really a mecha operator. Kaisi-fan nodded, explaining that his spirit partner had perished on the front lines, so the war zone gave him a second chance inside a mecha. Xiaoqian added that he hated those big shots who did nothing, but then stopped, realizing she forgot Hanzan was one of them too, and apologized. Xiaoya returned, throwing a heavy package of supplies to the group. He told them to gear up because the mission was starting now. He looked at them firmly and explained this was a blue-level operation codenamed Cut the Lineage. He asked if they had heard of the Iki Snake clan, noting their insane reproduction rate. He explained that they multiplied at a rate of 10,000 to 1 compared to humans. Even with an elimination rate of 100 to 1, humans couldn't keep up. He said that over a month ago, the first war zone was stuck in a stalemate with them. Then, Marshal Y cleared a path through enemy supply lines with his own hands. He single-handedly raised the elimination rate to an impressive 1,000 per point. But the moment he achieved that breakthrough, 8 Snake Kings ambushed him. His battle moved out of the war zone and disappeared into the wild. The most recent mission came directly from Warzone 2. Thanks to the innate divination talents of certain spiritual masters, they managed to locate dozens of snake nests. The nearest teams with the highest mobility were assigned to each location to carry out a complete destruction operation. Xiaoya checked the timer on his wrist, noting that time was running out, and ordered them to move. He marched in his mechanical armor, his heavy steps making the ground vibrate. Hanzan and the others followed closely, advancing silently toward the target coordinates. Suddenly, Hanzan stopped, his expression sharp. He whispered that they had arrived. He pointed to an ancient tree where something huge and translucent hung from the branches. Xiaoya narrowed his eyes, identifying it as a snakeskin shed during evolution to a higher level. Hanzan's gaze scanned the area, then stopped. He cursed, realizing those scoundrels had hidden the eggs there. Xiaoya stepped forward to examine the scene. He noted the skin was over 6,000 meters long and covered by billions of snake eggs, confirming, without a doubt, that this was the nest. But before anyone could move, Xiaoqian and Kaisi-fan suddenly went rigid. A strange sound, a wet and repulsive noise like decaying meat being moved, echoed from all directions. Then came the whispers, overlapping, shadowy, unnatural voices crawling toward their ears like living things. Before they could react, a horrifying chorus of popping sounds erupted around them. It was the sound of snake eggs, bursting like thousands of bones breaking at once. The intensity of the noise pierced their eardrums like needles, causing chills and making them lose their balance, as if something were digging claws into their minds. Then, without warning, a sonic pulse exploded, strong enough to throw Xiaoya in his full armor off the cliff. Hanzan didn't hesitate. In a quick move, he jumped off the cliff behind him. Kaisi-fan covered his ears and screamed their names, horrified to see them disappear over the edge. While falling, Xiaoya roared. He cursed and told Hanzan to go back to the mission, shouting that he didn't need to be saved, but Hanzan ignored him. In midair, he grabbed the massive arm of the mechanical armor, his eyes focused and muscles swelling with pure strength. With a powerful shout, he threw the entire armor back to the top of the cliff. It landed with a deafening crash, standing perfectly upright. As soon as Xiaoya landed, Xiaoqian and Kaisi-fan ran to the edge, shouting Hanzan's name in panic. Xiaoya stood paralyzed, stunned. Kaisi-fan muttered gloomily that with that superhuman strength, he might be gone from that height. Xiaoya clenched his fist, his voice low and full of guilt, saying it was his fault. But then a familiar voice echoed from the edge of the cliff, saying he wasn't gone and asking for help. As Hanzan struggled to climb back up, the other three finally breathed a sigh of relief, smiles appearing on their faces. Regaining his composure, Xiaoya couldn't help but call him an idiot. Risking your life to save me. Our mission is to destroy the nest. How could you waste time on me? But in the brief moment they fell, all the snake hatchlings had already emerged from their eggs. Cold eyes watched them like a plague of death. The four of them observed the sea of twisting snakes. None of them expected the eggs to hatch so quickly. A heavy silence fell. Doubt arose. Would they make it out alive? Suddenly, the hatchlings surged forward like a living wave. Xiaoya reacted immediately, shouting for them to go, saying he would hold them back. But there were too many. They were surrounded. There was no way out. In an instant, Hanzan reached into a dimensional ring and pulled out an object. In a flash, a golden energy barrier expanded, protecting the group from the swarm. The barrier radiated a soft, comforting glow. Miraculously, it stopped the snakes. They gathered outside the shield, hesitating to approach. Then, something even stranger happened. The snakes lowered themselves, crawling on the ground as if surrendering. Seeing this, Hanzan shouted to the captain, asking what he was waiting for and telling him to burn everything. Snapping out of his trance, Xiaoya activated the armor's flamethrower. A torrent of fire roared forward. The hatchlings screeched in agony, writhing as the flames devoured them. The ground turned black and charred, smoke rising into the sky. Kaisi Fan watched in awe. He asked Hanzan what he just did, calling it incredible. Hanzan replied modestly, saying he just used a piece of equipment and was lucky it worked on them. Xiaoya kept the fire going, sweeping every inch of the nest. He only stopped when the last snake was reduced to ashes, stepping out of the armor. Xiaoya gave Hanzan a piercing look. He asked who Hanzan really was, noting he didn't seem at all like one of those rich city kids. Hanzan smiled calmly, saying he was just a level 3 contract master, nothing special. At that moment, an alarm sounded on the mechanical armor's screen. The system reported that the Cut the Lineage mission was going very badly. Of all the teams involved, fewer than 10 had succeeded. Xiaoya murmured, thanking God for Hanzan, realizing that without him, they would be dead too. The map also lit up with known reinforcement routes used by the snake nest, indicating that if the hatchlings wanted to reach the battlefront, they would have to pass through those strategic points. Studying the map, Xiaoya suggested that what Hanzan did with the snakes was crazy, but if they held those routes, maybe they could exterminate them before they reached the battle. He asked what Hanzan thought. Hanzan didn't answer immediately. His eyes were fixed ahead, frowning. He said he didn't know if they could finish them all, but one thing was certain. If they didn't act now, they would be the next ones exterminated. Everyone followed his gaze, and there she was, a huge level 5 snake, the Nest Guardian. Her crimson eyes stared at them as she slithered toward them, oozing with killing intent. The group snapped back to reality with a start. That thing was much bigger than any of them had imagined. Hanzan shouted as loud as he could, asking what they were waiting for and telling them to run before it was too late. While Kaisi Fan and Xiaoqian screamed and ran for their lives, they muttered in frustration that there was no way to beat that thing. Without hesitating, Xiaoya controlled his mecha and fired a high-power missile directly at the level 5 snake, trying to stop its advance. The missile hit its target, but it only enraged the snake even more. Her crimson eyes shone with murderous fury. In the next instant, she lunged with open jaws and bit violently. Hanzan's heart almost stopped, his body froze, and words failed him. A ghastly crunch echoed in the air. The mecha was torn like paper, its fragments scattered across the battlefield. The shockwave threw Xiaoya into the air. He fell to the ground, covered in blood and injured from head to toe. Kaisi Fan and Xiaoqian watched in horror, eyes fixed on Xiaoya's shattered body, their faces pale with panic, but they couldn't do anything. The level 5 snake advanced again. This time, her enormous mouth was aimed at them. Just as the creature's jaws were about to devour them, a golden shield suddenly appeared, enveloping the trio like a divine barrier and blocking the fatal blow. It was the level 6 armor Hanzan had given them. Finally activated at the critical moment, the shield remained firm like an iron fortress. Kaisi Fan's eyes shone as he exclaimed they were saved, but the level 5 snake, now completely consumed by fury, suddenly released a stream of poisonous fluid from its mouth, a savage and unexpected counterattack. The poison pierced the shield like a rain of toxic arrows, directly hitting Kaisi Fan and Xiaoqian before they could react. In a matter of seconds, the corrosive toxins began consuming their flesh. Screams of agony cut through the air. In a few moments, their bodies were almost completely dissolved, leaving only broken limbs and pools of blood. The last traces of resistance still shone in their lifeless eyes. From afar, Hanzan watched it all happen, his heart filled with shock and fury, frozen in a moment that seemed never-ending. The level 5 snake fixed its blood-red eyes on Hanzan and let out a deafening roar. Her fury carried a suffocating aura of destruction. Snapping back to reality, Hanzan's gaze settled on the two mutilated bodies. An incendiary fury took over him, threatening to consume him completely. He gritted his teeth and growled to unlock the lock. His voice was cold and charged with pure rage. The snake attacked first, its powerful tail slicing through the air like a scythe. Anticipating the blow, Hanzan jumped at the exact moment, deflecting the deadly attack. In a fluid motion, he activated the dragon flight technique. His aura exploded like a dragon breaking the sea. The pressure around him suddenly increased with a shout calling for the wind. The air around him agitated violently. A wind vortex emerged, howling with destructive force. At that moment, a sharp horn began to emerge from the snake's forehead, shining threateningly, a clear sign it was preparing a deadly attack. The horn shone with a lethal glow as it shot toward Hanzan like a blade cutting through the air. It collided directly with the hurricane summoned by Hanzan, creating a thunderous explosion that shook the air around them. The storm was destroyed instantly, its force shredded like paper under the hand of an invisible giant. Hanzan was thrown to the ground, his body trembling internally from the impact. Gritting his teeth, he cursed, realizing this level 5 guardian was too strong and he couldn't face it head on. Frustration and helplessness clouded his thoughts. Before he could compose himself, the huge snake advanced again, its eyes even sharper, radiating lethal intent. At that precise moment, a powerful force emerged from the side, fast and precise, aiming directly at the snake's head with surgical precision. When the blinding light dissipated, everyone stood paralyzed at the scene before them. A long sword had pierced directly through the level 5 snake's head. Blood gushed as the colossal creature fell lifeless. Hanzan remained still in stunned silence, unable to believe what he was seeing. Then, from above, a girl descended gracefully, landing next to the embedded sword as if she had always been destined to end that battle. Hanzan stepped forward and bowed deeply, thanking the senior for saving his life. The girl named Ganjin looked him up and down before letting out a malicious giggle. She commented calmly that he was quite cute, just how she liked them. But she told him not to misunderstand. She wasn't a senior from Dacia, but from Sin City, what they called the Land of Exile. Hearing Land of Exile, Hanzan's heart skipped a beat. That place was infamous, where the world's undesirables were thrown, a huge slum disguised as a prison. Its people weren't bad in the traditional sense. Their evil came from impulse, the absence of morals, and the willingness to do anything to satisfy their desires regardless of the cost to others. Was this girl really one of the legendary relentless exiles? Hanzan discreetly checked her level, and his heart almost stopped. She was a level 8 contract spirit, SS rank, titled Bolt. Behind him, Ganjin suddenly spoke, her voice curious. She asked what that music he played earlier was, saying she felt every cell in her body energize. She described it as feeling like she could punch a snake king out of this dimension. Her eyes shone, and she showed an excited smile. Decisively, she told him she would take him with her to be her personal battle enhancer. Hanzan stepped back, frightened, saying she couldn't just do that. Ganjin smiled with disdain, asking if a simple level 3 contract master really thought he could say no to her. Hanzan replied calmly but firmly that he had a mission to fulfill and wasn't leaving yet. Ganjin stepped closer, asking what if she dragged him by force. Without hesitating, Hanzan pulled out a dagger and pressed it against his own neck, saying he would take his own life then. Ganjin hesitated, then burst out laughing. She admitted he had courage and asked what it would take for him to come with her willingly. Hanzan thought to himself that she seemed interested in him, so maybe he could use that to his advantage and get help with the mission. He frowned slightly and said he would go with her, but only if she helped him exterminate the newborn snakes, every single one of them. Ganjin laughed, saying she thought he would make some absurd demand, and agreed, saying she was in. Hanzan pulled out Kaisi Fan's snake map, pointing to 3 locations on it. He explained these were the main choke points to ambush the snake nests, suggesting they could flank them and support Dacia's forces in the final attack. Ganjin nodded, saying it sounded good, but when she turned around, her pupils turned completely black. She gasped, saying no, the nightmare in her wound was returning. As her voice weakened, a thin thread of black mist began to rise from her back. The mist coiled upward, gradually taking shape, outlining the silhouette of a grotesque ancestral beast behind her. As if a long-forgotten ancient evil had been awakened, Hanzan stood paralyzed, stunned by the sudden change, not knowing what was happening. Ganjin suddenly shouted for him to run. In the next instant, she advanced toward him at lightning speed, surrounded by an aura of violent black mist. Hanzan immediately felt the demonic energy emanating from her. His heart tightened, and he summoned the zither without hesitation. Sitting in the lotus position, he placed the zither on his lap and quickly played the strings. The soft melody of serene spirit resonated in the air, flowing like a breeze and carrying a serene, purifying force. As the music filled the air, the black mist around her seemed to waver, trembling as if recoiling from an invisible force. The longer the song lasted, the more the darkness dissipated, slowly lifting from Ganjin like smoke carried by the wind. She blinked in surprise and asked if that was him. Hanzan replied calmly that the song had both suppression and restoration properties, calling it just a simple trick. Ganjin diverted the conversation, clearly reluctant to explain. Seizing the moment, Hanzan insisted, asking exactly what that wound of hers was. Ganjin's expression turned somber. She explained she was wounded by a tyrannid insect emperor called Nightmare. She said she almost perished but managed to escape. Although he left a hidden scar, his energy was still inside her, able to take over her body and force her into a state of fury. Hanzan felt a chill run down his spine. He had no idea a tyrannid beast could be so terrifying. He hesitated for a moment before asking if he could see the wound. Ganjin raised an eyebrow and smiled mockingly, noting he had guts for trying to touch her. Despite the provocation, she began to undo her clothes naturally, warning him that if he stared too much, she would gouge his eyes out. Hanzan observed the wound on her back and said calmly that it wasn't deep and he could heal it. Ganjin blinked in surprise, not expecting him to be so bold or so serious. After a moment of reflection, Hanzan summoned the zither again. The notes of serene spirit floated once more in the air, soft and ethereal. ethereal, filling the forest with a comforting presence. At that distance, the song's calming effects were amplified. The zither's melody flowed like warm sunlight, and the black aura around Gonjin began to visibly dissipate. However, when the music ended, the dark energy started gathering again behind her, reforming like mist. Returning to the screen, Hanzan noticed and calmly said the music only suppressed the black aura, but couldn't eliminate it completely. Without hesitation, he pulled the xenon cauldron from his bag, ready to try another method. Gonjin saw the artifact and smiled maliciously, calling him a box of surprises, and noting how rare it was for a spirit contractor to have 2 contracts. When Hanzan activated the cauldron, it released a powerful suction force. Billions of the X-hatchlings Gonjin had slain were instantly absorbed and refined into pure spiritual energy. Then he channeled the cauldron's newly awakened level 3 ability, Vital Creation. With a soft sigh, a dense white mist invaded Gonjin's body, infusing every inch of her skin with vital energy. She felt warmth expanding through her limbs. The spiritual energy ran through her veins, soothing every nerve and filling her with a new sense of strength. Moments later, Hanzan withdrew his hand and coldly stated it worked, noting her wound was half healed. Gonjin smiled radiantly and asked if they could do it again, saying it was wonderful. Hanzan frowned slightly. He pointed out she saw it with her own eyes. That spiritual energy came from him devouring the flesh of billions of insects. He told her if she wanted another dose, she needed to bring him the same amount of raw material. Gonjin laughed, asking what the problem was and suggesting they go hunt more X-hatchlings right now. Without saying more, she pulled the sword from the slain snake and grabbed Hanzan's wrist, dragging him with firm, urgent steps. Soon they arrived at the entrance of the X-battlefield, a narrow gorge. What they saw was a terrifying vision. Waves of serpentine bodies, gray as ash, advanced like a relentless flood. Surveillance drones floated above, rapidly capturing images and transmitting them in real time to the Unified Command Department. Real-time report, massive influx of X-hatchlings detected at the gorge entrance. The room erupted in anxious murmurs. They realized they detected them too late. Someone asked where General Linsen was, noting that if he were there with his spirit beast, he could have sealed the 3 entry points with his mountain-moving ability. One of the commanders responded with a somber face that he was reassigned. He noted the insect swarm knew exactly what it was doing. Another officer murmured that they were drawing their high-level forces to the front, calling it useful, but noting their intent was now crystal clear. Linsen changed his tone to one sharp as ice. He ordered an immediate secure line to the 8th war zone, telling them to hold position with no action for now. Meanwhile, Hanzan and Gonjin reached the ridge of the gorge from the high ground. They could clearly see the bustling swarm of X-hatchlings covering the land below. Gonjin's eyes shone with the desire for battle. Her aura sharpened like a blade. She was more than ready to eliminate them all, but Hanzan spoke calmly, asking Senior Gonjin to let him go first. With that, he jumped from a high stone pillar. His body dived toward the battlefield like a shooting star. Seeing him descend alone into the chaos, Gonjin smirked, calling him a somewhat bold boy but noting that with her watch, he wouldn't die surrounded by a swarm of X-hatchlings. Hanzan let out a furious roar, challenging the filthy beasts to meet their end. In the next instant, he unleashed his 8-fold fist. The force of each blow cut the air like thunder, sending shockwaves in all directions. Back at the operational command center, Lin and the others monitoring the transmission immediately noticed Hanzan's appearance on the battlefield. One of the commanders exclaimed in disbelief, asking what the hell he was doing attacking alone, saying he was asking to die. But Hanzan didn't waver. Every punch he threw destroyed an X-hatchling on contact. Blood and viscera flew in all directions, turning the battlefield into a hellish scene of carnage. Hanzan intended to use the battle as a test for his 8-fold fist, but the absurd number of X-hatchlings was overwhelming. They seemed endless. Soon even more snakes surged against him like a giant wave, their momentum terrifying. Realizing he would be completely surrounded, Hanzan's heart tightened. He muttered that this was bad. At that moment, Gonjin launched herself from above, landing beside him with a shockwave that wiped out the X-hatchlings. With a quick spin of her sword, dozens of snakes were cut instantly, blood splashing through the air. Without hesitating, she struck again, her blade slicing a snake in half perfectly. After catching his breath, Hanzan nodded quickly in thanks, before throwing himself back into the fight with renewed fervor. Watching his back, Gonjin couldn't help muttering that the boy really didn't value his life. Amidst the battle, Hanzan felt a surge of internal energy. He had unlocked the 3rd level of the 8-fold fist, Vital Explosion, Controlled Release. Eager to test its power, he immediately released the newly awakened ability. The power of the 3rd strike was immense, so fierce that even the air around his fist began to distort. Gonjin's eyes widened slightly. She didn't expect him to explode with such force. Excited, she shouted that she would join the fight too and jumped into the swarm. Her sword shone like lightning, sending snake bodies flying with every blow. Back at the command center, someone watching the live feed gasped in disbelief, unable to believe the kid was holding back the entire tide of snakes alone. Another officer asked curiously who the woman fighting beside him was. Lin Zin answered with a grave expression that it was Gon Jin, the so-called demon queen of the exile city. He explained she was a level 8 contract spirit, the best of the best. He noted that about a month ago she fought Wei Qing and was defeated by him and his wife working together. They thought she had left the battlefield, but it seemed she stayed and even joined his junior disciple. At that moment, the area around Hanzan and Gon Jin was covered in snake bodies piled like mounds, the smell of blood permeating the air. Without pausing, Hanzan summoned the divine cauldron once more and began absorbing the remains around him, activating his vital Genesis ability. Countless snake bodies were absorbed by the cauldron, and the spiritual energy inside it skyrocketed violently, dense enough to distort the space around it. Turning to Gon Jin, Hanzan said calmly to get ready, as he could start her treatment again. Gon Jin turned around, showing her back. The previous wound was still exhaling black mist, a sign it wasn't fully healed. Focused and firm, Hanzan activated the divine cauldron once more, channeling pure spiritual energy into her body for a second round of healing. As the spiritual energy flowed into her body, Gon Jin felt that warm, comforting sensation again. The heavy pressure inside her began to diminish. At that moment, Hanzan asked quietly if there was a black thorn stuck in the wound and if he should remove it. Gon Jin answered without hesitation. Her tone was firm, clearly prepared for whatever came. When the thorn was removed, a wave of dense black mist exploded like a tide, releasing a cold aura that filled the air. But Gon Jin's face relaxed even more than before. A slight relief spread across her features, as if that evil energy had taken all her pain and weight with it as it left her body. And with that, this video ends. Like and subscribe for the next part.